Hi, hello, and welcome. So, I've made a trip today and I have retrieved a portion of my trove, the remaining portion of my trove. Also, today's a nut ICC 397. I opened up this box and got excited. I was excited for the portfolios that I got out of storage. I feel like portfolios, I love portfolios. But I'm one of those office supply, school supply girlies. Like back to school season used to be my favorite because it was time to get new notebooks and pencils and stuff like that. And then it became like office supplies were like staplers and um you know whiteboards with dry erase markers and a crap ton of gel pens or pens in general. And so portfolios, like I love, but I'm not necessarily, I'm the type of person to appreciate and admire them, but not necessarily the type to use them. And somehow I went from like none and really wanting one to three full size and one smaller one. And I found these, I was like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, I don't I don't know what I would use it for. Like I got this one in the men's leadership series, right? Which was its own experience. This is a smaller one. And I was like, maybe I could use this for like readings or something. It has a really nice pen. Well, this isn't the one with the really nice pen. It's a nice pen that has like the clicker as a stylus. And of course, you know, this was 2019. There's this book, Lead Simply, that I didn't read. That's it. Let's go to work. And there's whatever these papers are. And then there's like, you can see some stuff I wrote in here. It's like the pen holder, the notebook, the little pockets for business cards and other pieces of paper. I don't know. What are we? Ooh, what is this? Oh, that's me. Why is my name on here? This was my copy. I think because when I went, it was towards the end of the year because I ran into somebody on campus. So I was invited to be a part of the inaugural board of the people who put on the men's leadership series. And I remember it was summer 2017. I wasn't in a good place and I did not have the bandwidth and capacity to do this. And I was not confronted by the one person. I thought there would be like several students that were there. I go and I'm like the only student. I'm like, what? Which I guess I should have been like, oh my, like the recognition. Of course, I was honored then, and I just had to tell him I don't have the capacity to do what I need to do to really give this the time, energy, and effort. So after that, I never really heard anything about it. Then cue to 2 years later, I guess, when I see the one guy and he's like, oh, like you've never come to the men's leadership series. And I was like, I was never invited. And he was like, well, you don't need an invite. Just come. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, and then I got this larger one. I also had another one. It had binder rings in it, and I gave it to my number one fan because, as much as I love them, again, I don't really use them, and I feel like she could get more use out of it than I could. And so this one is like a full sized notepad with my Eli Lilly pen that's like really nice. Okay, there's another one. There's a third one I have that had a really, really nice pen that I haven't used. I was like, oh, look at this pen. Yeah, and it's got no, this one I actually got from a friend. But anyway, I was like, maybe I could like use them in this capacity and I don't know, take notes, jot down spreads. Probably not. I just like I love them so much because I feel like they are the epitome of like in the office supply hierarchy, they stand at the top. But unfortunately, not as of yet. And then, so I'm already excited. I see my Arduino. I'm even more excited because I'm like, I can like program some stuff. But Arduino is a microcontroller, right? And I already ordered a bunch of like, I think there's a Bluetooth adapter, a Wi Fi adapter, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then I see the cards and I'm looking at all the cards. I'm like, oh my gosh. First of all, there's so many. Second of all, there's decks in there I forgot I got. Second and third of all, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I don't know. I could just stick my hand in there. I saw the Lofruma, right? And I was like, I could pull before and after Anwilla and the Raw Runes and in the Lofruma. And then also there's the Tarot Apocalypsis that I mention all the time, especially the Magician in the Tarot Apocalypsis. Maybe that's what we'll do. So give me a moment. I'm going to pull the decks of energies that have come out recently, and we'll go from there. So, what is this? The Idrisil. I was gonna do a Woden Thor Frigg WTF. What the frig? There. There's the Dungeons and Dragons tarot that I completely forgot about. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do have that. There, and then I saw like the in between tarot. I was like, I have the before after in between. I have the vice versa tarot, like the dreams of Gaia. I'm gonna pull this one for that chariot energy. The runic tarot would be a good complement to the Idrisil Norse divination cards. What is this? The Dolly tarot. I forgot I got this Ravenous Dracon tarot. What's over here? What is this? Is this the Fairy Oracle? I forgot I got this deck. Mythical Creatures Oracle deck. I'm getting the Tarot Apocalypsis. The Tea Leaf Oracle. I haven't necessarily forgotten I got that. Yanani Tarot. What's this? I feel like this is. Oh, I remember this one. The Mystical Dream Tarot. I'm pretty sure Eve got that for me. The Mystical Manga. I have the Manga Tarot. Is it Magical Mystical Manga? Mystical Medleys. I have the Truth Tarot. Is that what this one was called? Clarity Tarot. I could pull the Clarity Tarot since the theme of clarity has been like sort of cropping up, but here's the Down Oracle. But there hasn't been like a specific. The Edgar Allan Poe tarot. Oh my gosh, I forgot I'd done that. Quoth the Raven. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So the ones I pulled out, the Dreams of Gaia for the. Oh, okay. I'm back. I have the Dreams of Gaia for that magician. I have Lafruma for the Anwilla. I have. Did I say that right? I have the Tarot Apocalypsis for the Magician. Idrisil Norse divination cards for Frigg. They have Frigg and Freya for Frigg. And that's this. Okay. Am I gonna timestamp? Nah, we'll just go with it. Right, let's do the Frigg first. Let's look before and after Frigg. I'm gonna give them 3 shuffles, a cut, and then I'm gonna look. Just to keep this sort of moving in a way. I don't know. I feel. Where do I have Gemini? My South Node is in Gemini. Because Uranus just entered Gemini. Uranus, I feel like Uranus and Taurus. I'm a late degree Taurus moon. And I feel like what I was expecting from Uranus and Taurus, first of all, I didn't have any expectations really because it's Uranus, right? What do you expect from Uranus? But I was very, very curious and I was very, very intrigued what would happen. And then it happened. And then I'm like, whoa, would have never thought that happened. But it's kind of like a multifold thing almost. Because it's one of those things that happened that I would have never thought would happen. But also at the same time, I'm kind of like reacting and responding in a way that I wouldn't have thought that I would react and respond to what's happening. But that tells me, it speaks to me of my journey in a way to be where I am now. Right. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. I feel like I saw somebody. I did not. So we're looking for Frigg. We have Nana, steadfastness and loyalty. Odin, omniscient, wisdom, poetry, and language. And Gersimian Nas, treasure, beauty, and design at the bottom. Bottom 3. So we have steadfastness, loyalty, wisdom, poetry, treasure, beauty, design, omniscient. Cool. Looking for Frigg. Maybe I will timestamp this. Ooh. Scrimir made a bunch of noise. Deception, undermining of confidence. And it came out with Mimir, omniscient advisor and counsel. This is so interesting. Most of the cards are accurate, but these 2 are not. They are both the 7th of the 2nd, and it's interesting that one of them is deception. Right? If you look at the Roman numerals on the bottom, I did this because these aren't necessarily in alphabetical order. Right? Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 7, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 7. And I think there may be one more, but you can see how, like, that's the 8th realm, 6th card. Interesting. The card of deception is the one that made noise. And it's almost like it came out, it disrupted the order with Mimir, the one of omniscience and counsel. Oop. Hirokin. Judgment and final decision. I feel like I've seen that name. It may be a name in One Piece. I feel like I've seen it recently. There was Frey. Looking for a Frigg. Freya. Is she literally the top of the deck? Literally the card at the top of the deck was Frigg. I looked from the bottom. She is foresight, wisdom, and intuition, and the one card that came with her is conflict behind the mask, Dari. And then you have the messenger, the diplomat, under that conflict behind the mask. Messenger, diplomat, and conflict behind the mask is such an interesting energy because it almost gives one. I'm going to timestamp this back a minute. This is your reminder that timestamps on this channel are approximations. Also, I apologize for the wobbliness of the camera and the angle, probably because with my web, the top of my laptop is like angled, and I set my webcam on top of my laptop. So, and I'm not great at that. I have a planet in every sign, or like a celestial body, or a calculation, a node, a something in every sign except Virgo in tropical astrology. Every single one except Virgo. So sometimes I try and I try and I try and I can never get it just right. I'm gonna timestamp this 14 minutes. What the frig? 14 minutes. What I find interesting about this conflict behind the mask is with that beloved serpent energy yesterday that matured into that, what was it, the blade, the circle, and the five of swords, the Hector, but more so with the beloved serpent, it was someone being a safe space for themselves in their entirety. It's like, you know how if you are fortunate enough to have a safe space where you feel you can be yourself and share vulnerably and not be judged for it, it's like having that for you within you. The Skriniar, and Dari, messenger, diplomat with a conflict behind the mask. This is an energy that's almost very like, let's say that someone is a diplomat or a messenger, and let's say that like they've been like a long time diplomat or messenger, and they form actual like connections. But since they're a messenger, their primary duty is to deliver messages. So the conflict behind the mask with that diplomat messenger, it's almost like the diplomat has to give information to someone that they don't want to give. But ultimately it's their job. Right. And so it's almost like a conflict between their duty, responsibility, and their personal feelings or whatever. And it's literally, it could literally be one of those like, don't shoot the messenger types of things, because the messenger is just a messenger. Anyway, so Dari is this, I think it's the seventh realm. And then see, I even put the numbers in the book. Right. So Aegir or Aegir would be, you see it's the third card in the second realm. I'm pretty sure this one is on top. Yep. Seventh realm. Second card, Dari. Just makes it's easier for me than like trying to remember what the symbols mean. Dari is a king in the world of the dark elves. If his allegiance is called upon, he will stay with the seeker and become part of them. Dari manifests as the mask of past, present. One second. I'm going to start over. Sorry. Dari is a king in the world of the dark elves. If his allegiance is called upon, he will stay with the seeker and become part of them. Dari manifests as the mask of past and present conflicts, worn in a variety of ways. One meaning of the name Dari is spear, and the card can indicate the influence of spears pointed at the seeker, creating a high pressure siege like situation for the question or situation of the seeker, either currently or in the recent past. His presence is an indicator that the seeker might be stuck in a situation that has passed, still feeling as if under siege and wearing the defense mechanism that served well when in a high pressure situation, like a mask or armor. The card might indicate that the situation has passed and it's time to allow the mind to follow. Dari serves as armor and can be useful in a situation of conflict, but he is not easy to shed. Dari and Daroth, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not going to get stuck on these names. Dari and Daroth, Darid, Dari and Darid have the same attributes, and if they show up together in the spread, it means that there is real need for armor. It indicates a mounting conflict, but the seeker is advised to be aware, not to be stuck in a situation of conflict. If they show up on their own, they might rather indicate a past conflict and remind the seeker that it's time to let go of old armor. Now, this is so interesting because that image of one meaning of the name Dari is spear, and the card can indicate that the influence of spears pointed at the seeker. Can indicate the influence of spears pointed at the seeker, creating a high pressure siege like situation for the question or situation of the seeker, either currently or in the recent past. It's interesting because we've been seeing the Seven of Wands so often, and that's literally the image depicted in the Seven of Wands. But in the Seven of Wands, it is understood that the person has the high ground and they're in a position of advantage. So even though all the spears are pointed at the person, all the wands are pointed at the person in the Seven of Wands, they're all sort of like going up and he's going down, right? And it makes it, again, that's the position of advantage. I feel like I thought of this recently. It's so interesting that this armor came out with the card of wisdom around Frigg because I don't have the deck. I don't remember what deck it was in, but there's a deck that has a card that's like, it's something like, if your wisdom isn't serving you, then abandon your wisdom. And I think that that can be difficult, but so important at times. If we've grown wise in the ways of, if we've grown wise, if we were like world wise in the 1970s and 80s, that same world wisdom then may not necessarily be applicable to the 2020s. And if it is, it's almost like you would have to interpolate or extrapolate to find how that wisdom applies now, because in some ways, a lot of things are the same, but in many ways, it's not. Right? Like, let's say when it comes to like the cost of living or whatever, you know, there was a point in time when if you worked full time, you could afford a decent living. You can't work the same hours, get paid the same, and expect to live the same life. But back then, that could have been something that was treated as economic wisdom, right? You can't do that now. What realm is this? Oh, I thought this may have been. Was it Svartalfheim? I think they have Svartalfheim and um not neither Butler. What is it? Come on. It is Svartalfheim or Svartalheim, the world of dark elves, and it said he was the king of dark elves. Interesting. I feel like I also have the before, after, and in between. I also have the vice versas. I know I've had the vice versa tarot on my brain. I also have the tarot apocalypses here, but I don't really want to pull from a deck that I'm going to use later. So I have the before tarot, the after tarot, the in between tarot, the vice versa tarot. I kind of want to go for the vice versas. They were speaking to me. I also have the Dungeons and Dragons tarot. Well, what did it mention? It mentioned armor. Yeah, I'm not going for the Dungeons and Dragons. I also have the Diablo tarot. They got armor in some of those. I pulled out the Diablo Oracle. I'm trying to think of. Actually, I'm going to pull before and after the Seven of Wands, and I'm going to pull before and after the Ten of Swords. But the Seven of Wands, we're going to take it as it comes out. The Ten of Swords, there's one side specifically that I want. And I'm pretty sure it's the reverse side. I guess the final card was the Magician. No, this is the Wheel of Fortune. This Wheel of Fortune is so interesting. He's postured like the Magician, wears the colors of the Magician, holds up the Ankh like the Magician, but the Ankh, that signifies that he's an emperor because the emperor is given the Ankh by the Empress. So it's like this magician emperor energy. And I love, because we've been talking about will lately, WILL, and because of the homophonicity, is that right? Homonyms, they sound the same. Did I say homonyms or homophones? Homophones sound the same, phonetic, phoneme. Homonyms is the same name, nomenclature, name, right? So bear and bear. No. More like wind and wind. I think wind and wind would be homonyms because you spell them this. Hold up. You spell them the same. Bear and bear would be homonyms because they're not spelled the same, but they sound the same. And I guess if you put the H in wheel, then it doesn't sound like will. I mean, you even have like will and wheel, wheel. So they're not exact, but they're adjacent, you know? I don't have to look it up. It's not that important. It's fine. I can be slightly bothered long enough until I forget. But again, it's interesting because we've been talking about will. We even saw the Emperor. The Emperor came out in the SKT Revelations edition. And then we saw the politic that were playing at emperors, but we saw the actual emperor. That emperor was specifically holding that Ankh, and I feel like there's a, and that card is different, but we also see that shape. Anyway, because the magician was magic and magic was the will, again, it's so interesting that at the top of the deck we have someone dressed like the magician, holding, dressed like the magician in the pose of the magician, right? As above, so below. But again, holding the Ankh as the emperor would. Now, in this Dari context specifically, I just have it. No, was that the moon? The one thing about the vice versa tarot is these are double-sided cards. So flips don't necessarily mean the same as falls. Because, you know, if this card, oh, we pulled two cards. If these cards flip, there's something else on the other side, right? You don't see a card back to make it easier. And then we have what, the Two of Pentacles and Justice as the cards that I randomly pulled. I'm gonna put them back in shuffle. All right, I'm looking before and after the Seven of Wands and the Ten of Swords. The Seven of Wands is whichever side we see. If the Ten of Swords is on the wrong side, I'm flipping the whole deck, not just the cards around it. So we have the Ace of Cups, Death, and the Two of Cups. What an interesting combination. That's the other side of these cards. It's also interesting because this is more of the rebirth side of death. We saw, was it death in the Eight of Wands? Was it death in reverse in the Eight of Wands upright? Or was it death in reverse, judgment upright? Was it death, the Eight of Wands, and judgment? There was an energy of like, I feel like something was immediately going to rebirth. You also see, interesting, okay, because you see the fountain in the back. You see the back of the fountain here. There's the Ace of Cups. Here's the Ace of Cups. So, like, this Two of Cups is happening in the background somewhere. But because of this Death card, Death is giving this a twilight energy. Twilight energy being like it's happening in a realm that we may not necessarily see. Because from the front of the Ace of Cups, it's daytime, right? And then with the backside of Death, this sky more accurately reflects these colors. So it's like that's why you don't see the Two of Cups here, because it's happening in this almost like twilight realm, parallel reality on the other side of the veil. And it's interesting that she's here because the final card from the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards last time was the Wild Woman. It was the Wild Woman, and behind at the bottom of the deck was the Time Master. The Wild Woman and the Time Master. Okay. The Wild Woman and the Time Master is an interesting energy, especially paired with this Twilight energy. Because of, again, just like there was the Beloved Serpent, right? And how the Beloved Serpent energy is sort of standing in the space of, it's like that Beloved Serpent energy is very similar to that energy that's been, again, like someone is a safe space for themselves, someone who can accept themselves light and dark wholly and completely. And it feels like, maybe semantically, it feels like there are degrees to accepting oneself. Almost like when it comes to will, there's like someone's free will and then the divine will. And how delicate of a balance it could be of like trying to be so within the will of the divine that we don't necessarily have our own, but also with that free will, sovereign will, it's like it could be so into the ego that it rejects or works against what is divine. Right? It's like it can be difficult to be both. Right. So, okay. There was the energy of, because we saw, was it no, it was the Six of Swords, the Six of Zones, the Tower, and Neptune was that winds of Neptune. The Tower being like the anchor, and it was that energy of like when someone, when they, it's that the bell that pulses out into the universe, bringing the physical and intangible into harmony, collision or cohesion. It was the cohesion of those two forces. It was the matter and antimatter. Thank you. It was the matter and antimatter existing in this state of superposition, or yeah, rather than matter and antimatter being this elimination event where they cancel each other out. It's this event where they simultaneously exist at the same time. And it was like that energy is what allows someone to walk through that the tower out of time, right? And I mentioned that because like that sort of this energy here, we read it in the twilightness of this, right? Also, we saw the wild woman with that time master. Because the wild woman is with the time master can move as freely outside of time as it does inside time. And so the time master, through nature of being who he is, can also freely traverse the that tower that exists outside of time. And so yeah, again, we have these like two almost polar opposite energies. The merchant and the prince, or the, excuse me, have these two that are met sitting together, just like we have this two of cups. And then there's the rebirth, there's the wild woman, there's that thing in the back. Now, the question is this the same girl that's depicted on the fountain? Is this her as we see it when that tower is locked out of time and she's still? And then when the conditions are right, now we see her in movement. I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Also, it feels like it energetically plays into when we saw the star. She's naked like the star. It was was it the star, the Eight of Swords, and the Seven of Wands? Was it not the star, the Eight of Swords, and the Seven of Wands? And it's interesting because again, the energy of the Seven of Wands is in this spear is pointing up towards someone in that siege. I think it was the star. I know it was the star and the Eight of Swords. And I think it was the Seven of Wands because it was that energy of like someone becoming something, being something, right? And it's interesting because at first it was the energy of Archangel Michael with the sword. But it's like it's an evolution from like learning how to wield your own sword to embodying being whoever, whatever, to the point where like a sword isn't even needed or necessary. Because at the end of the day, the sword is, when you become a sword master, the sword becomes an extension of you. And if your sword is an extension of you, then you no longer need the sword because you are you. So why would you need an extension of you to do something or accomplish something when you could do it yourself? And it's so interesting because that almost plays into the Hector Five of Swords energy with the boot. And I was like, this boot reminds me of this anime that I was watching, where if you like really cherish something over the years, it kind of sort of grows to have a spirit of its own. But when you are the person, like the first generation person that invested, it's like you would have a unique tie to the spirit of the thing because it gained its spirit with you, just like a mother and a child in a way, or a parent and a child, because part of it is you. But then you realize, I haven't finished the anime, but it's like you realize that the power doesn't come from the things. The things have power because they have become an extension of you, but the power ultimately resides within you. And that was, again, that Five of Swords that ended in like your will. Like you develop a will that whatever. And then the divine is coming to you like, hey, like we go to the divine sometimes in prayer, for example, may it be your will that whatever happens and may your will be done, type energy. Anyway, interesting. Not what we're looking for, but interesting. I love this. I kind of love this. I'm looking for the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is literally right here. So it's the Empress, the back of the Empress, the Seven of Wands, and this Three of Cups. Is this the Queen of Pentacles or the King of Pentacles? We have the Queen of Pentacles, the back of the Queen of Pentacles, and the back of the Empress. This is Empress and pre-Empress energy. There are the fronts. These are the backs. And again, this, especially if you look at that Queen of Pentacles, this is her in the front, this is her in the back. It's more of that twilight energy. We're not. Anyway. Is this interesting? Oh, I still need to go looking for the Ten of Swords. If we look at the back of this Three of Cups and the front of the Empress, it almost looks like it could be the same woman. This is the Empress on her throne. This is her with her girlies. Where, you know, we're in her safe space. Where she doesn't have to be the Empress. She can just be whatever, insert Empress's name here. Her with her girls, you know. And it's also, no, yes, the Kindred Three of Cups and the SKT, just like the Politic Three of Wands, they're all in this Emperor energy. The Kindred similarly are in an Empress energy. But here, it's almost like rather than seeing the Politic as a few masculine energies playing at being emperors and using their dominance and control and politicking to make them almost like more powerful than they are. It's like here, it's not three women pretending to be empresses. This is the Empress and her girls. Having a girls, this is like the Emperor, the Empress, and having a girls' night. It's also interesting because again, with that magician, we saw with the Wheel of Fortune, we saw what looked like the magician holding the Ankh like the Emperor would. The Emperor is given the Ankh by the Empress, and the Empress is with her girls. Right? From the back, like, and it's almost like, because this is the side that actually came out, right? So it's almost like, you know, in like movies and stuff where there's a dummy, right? They'll put, like, you put a blonde wig on a basketball and then you like cover it. You put the covers on so you think someone's sleeping in the bed. Or like you put up a mop and you lean it up against like a couch or something so you think that someone's sitting there, but really that person is gone. It's this, like, that's just a blonde wig on top of whatever. The Empress is gone. The Empress has left the building. She's having girls' time. She gave the Ankh to the Emperor. with that Wheel of Fortune being major seasons and cycles, oftentimes beyond our control. And it's interesting because, again, I'm looking at this wild woman here, and I'm looking at these sort of women here, especially her, where you can tell it's like, she threw something on so that, she can go from the car to the beach. But once she gets to the beach, and then you see the two dudes in the foreground. Now, if this line of whatever is building a story to be taken as whatever, I would say these two in the foreground, they represent what they represent. Like we have the Two of Cups, but it's almost like they could represent more of that politic Three of Wands energy of masculine energies playing at being an emperor while the empress is off doing whatever. But we've seen the emperor doing his thing at the wheel, literally the emperor at the wheel, like the wheel of the ship, the wheel of the car. While these two are, it's almost like this again, because this is a twilight energy. You don't see this, you can't see this. So it's almost like this shady back room type whatever, but they're not at the wheel. The emperor is at the helm. And if they were at the wheel, the empress would not be here doing this. Okay? If the emperor were not at the wheel, if the emperor wasn't the one that was steering the ship and the empress isn't steering the ship, you would see her in her chair doing her duties. Because it's that kind of energy. It's almost like imagine somebody, because we have the Queen of Wands or the Queen of Pentacles here. And the Queen of Pentacles is generous, she's lovely, she's a lot of things, but you best believe she's also about her business. And if the Queen of Pentacles is off relaxing, it's because there's someone that she trusts to handle business, handling business. Otherwise, she would be in it. And so it's almost, you could say, through some kind of extension, low hanging fruit, take it as it resonates. If it resonates, it's almost like sometimes if you're going through certain things and it seems like the divine may be like a little bit distant, you could say, in some cases, it's like it's because you're trusted to do what you need to do. Right. And it's like, cue anybody who has been overworked and underpaid, who has taken on more and more and more responsibility, as it seems like everybody is short staffed and not necessarily interested in being staffed. But it's like it allows things to continue to run and function. You're trusted. If you weren't trusted, like the Empress would be here. She has kind of done a runner, though, which is interesting. Or maybe it's as Emperor energies sort of take the wheel, then the Empress can take a break and unwind. Also, low hanging fruit is, for example, there has been a resurgence of women's rights and experiences. And to be the person fighting for your own rights is exhausting. And so it's almost like someone, because like the burden shouldn't exist on the person to make sure that they're treated whatever. It should be on other people to treat them how they should be treated. Right. And so it's almost like if men, and that low hanging fruit example, I'm not a woman, I can't speak for women, first and foremost, but as a metaphor, it's almost like when men start to really champion women, then it's almost like it's a point where women can start to feel maybe safer and like relieved that they don't have to be the ones constantly almost like re-traumatizing themselves just to be listened to or heard or treated seriously, or not keeping themselves rooted to that experience And yes, you can work to it or work through it to a point where you can speak of it and still not be as attached. But imagine like not having to do that to be respected or listened to. When a man that you can trust does whatever, then it's like, you can unwind and you can relax and you can have an experience that may be different from the one that you're used to when you're not acknowledged, respected, and treated well. I'm gonna have to run to the restroom. I know I shouldn't have drank all that. All right, I'm back. And I'm so glad for that potty break because I feel like I almost completely missed it that this Dari talked about a conflict that is over. So again, it reaffirms that like the Empress can afford to not be the one doing everything because there is an emperor magician person at the wheel doing whatever. Also, we see this side of the Seven of Wands where it's like the conflict is over. On the other side, even here, that Seven of Wands ain't bothered. Again, all of the spears pointing up towards. I mean, here it's less like there. Well, yeah, this could be like a rock on top of a cliff, and there are people down there holding them up. But here, especially, it's like it's over. You can walk away. Now, it said in the more recent past, the past into the present, it could be ending. And since it's ending, then it's like learning to exist in an environment where you are truly safe. So you can be vulnerable and carefree and, you know, do all like be less hyper vigilant. And it's interesting because I remember having a conversation a few weeks ago about love in terms of like what we grow to think of love as, right? If your first love was like a toxic situation or a combative sort of whatever, then it can be easy in your mind to associate that toxicity with love and all this other stuff. And so then when you're in an environment or when you're in a relationship where it's not crazy drama and gaslighting, you might think that the person doesn't love you because the last person that told you that they loved you put you through the ringer type energy. And in that kind of like again, this is an empress that can finally go out with her girls. Also, we go from the Ace of Cups, Two of Cups to the Three of Cups. This Three of Cups is under the Two of Cups. All right, still looking for the Ten of Swords. I hope I recognize it. There's that Emperor with the Queen of Wands. Oh, the Emperor Magician. On the other, this is the other side of the Wheel of Fortune. We saw it on this side. And again, it's that same nighttime sky as that Seven of Wands. And again, now the Empresses can go and do her thing. I feel like this is such an interesting. It's such an interesting energy because it's almost like it's not the Empress's job to come in and fix what, like she can if she has to. There's the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords is in between the Knight of Pentacles and Temperance. It's and the Knight of Pentacles was the practitioner of alchemy, and Temperance was the representative of alchemy. And I kind of love that it came out. This isn't the side of the Ten of Swords that I want. This isn't the side of the Ten of Swords that came to mind as I was reading that the conflict is over energy. And it's so interesting that it's almost like we have to flip. Oops. The Knight of Pentacles has fallen. I feel like since the Knight of Pentacles is on the ground, that's that. It doesn't have to be slow energy. You flip the whole thing. This is the side of the Ten of Swords I wanted, where he's not in the armor anymore. The conflict is over. You don't have to put on your armor. That's what Dari mentioned, both of those. That's why this came to mind. But we have to like turn alchemy and the practitioners of alchemy on its head to be at this point when it's over. Also, there's an eclipse for why not? There's a Scorpio and Leo energy here. Scorpio through the eagle and Leo through the lion. Now, I did say I would turn the whole deck. The Three of Wands is here, though. And look how it's holding the wand in one hand. But then, whatever that is, water and fire. This is the reason why this was west, the direction of west, right? Where it was the circle with the above and below. It was the Four of Cups and the Ace of Wands. Heavenly fire is water on earth. This is a working understanding of not only recognizing water as fire and fire as water as applicable, not only working with that element, but also having the will to be very intentional with the workings of that element. Like it's one thing, for example, it's one thing to know that in the northern hemisphere it is currently spring, and in the southern hemisphere it is currently fall. Right? It's one thing to know that. It's another thing to go, I'm going to the southern hemisphere where it's fall going into winter. So it's going to be cooler depending on where I go. And so instead of packing the clothes that I would be wearing in the season that I'm in now, I'm going to pack clothes to wear where I'm going because I know that down there it's fall. That's the second thing. But it's a third thing entirely to do whatever. But we'll be flipping it. We're flipping the whole deck because that's what I said we were going to do. Now the Four of Pentacles is at the top. And the King of Swords is at the bottom. We've been seeing the King of Swords a lot. But it's this King of Swords with the lightning striking in the back. Like, whoa. I'm not going to flip the cards that already came out because they're already on the table. Interesting. What I also like about Temperance in reverse, there's a nod to the mystical shaman on the back of this Knight of Pentacles. That right there, you see this rock and that shadow cast on the whatever, that's a nod to the mystical shaman and the mystical shaman oracle cards, because in the mystical shaman you see, it'll be easier to show you. Cool. If I have a table of contents, that would be even better. And I do. The mystical shaman is on page 76. Wake me up. Wake me up inside. Sorry. You see that? You see like the shadow of the mystical shaman in this orb thingy? And that's what was giving me mystical shaman vibes. It's even like you see the beak, right, of the bird. Like you see the beak up here, and then it's like the wings in the back. That's why it was giving me mystical shaman vibes. Also, what I love about this being the back of Temperance, it's like a lot of times when it comes to Temperance and divine timing, we wait. And we just wait and we wait and we wait. And we wait and we wait and we wait. But here we see that behind the back of this angel that is divine timing, it's almost like these are conditions that need to be fulfilled in order for the timing to be the thing, right? So there's the lion, Leo. There is the eagle, Scorpio. You could say that this is strength and death. We have to change so completely and so wholly that we are basically reborn. And we have to be self whatever enough that we have that strength with that Leo energy. That's what it's waiting on. It's not a time thing, it's a you thing. And maybe low hanging fruit, easy pickings, it could be a victim mentality. It's not necessarily reading like victim mentality, but victim mentality is one example of what this energy could be. Where it's like when we're still stuck in a situation where we're still wearing our armor, where we're keeping ourselves in a conflict that is long past, recently to more distantly over, it's like we will always be waiting because we're wearing that armor. We're standing up on that hill, waiting for somebody to come and do something, not realizing that everyone's already gone home. And again, that's on this side, on the side that came out. The battle is literally over. It's been so long, blood isn't even on the ground anymore. We just been waiting and waiting and waiting with this knowledge and belief that, the Knight of Pentacles is slow and the divine works in mysterious ways. So, sometimes you just gotta wait, and it's like you're not waiting on the divine to do something. You're waiting on you to do something because the divine is waiting on you to do something before the next thing. And I also love this again because, oh, let me flip these back over. This is the side we're looking for. When it came to the death card, we saw the rebirth. Dari, this is a past conflict. This rebirth has already happened. It's like it's time to, again, move forward. Cool. Love it. So you're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting in divine timing and this and that for so long. Like, what the frig? Like, my intuition and discernment, or my intuition is telling me one thing, and I've grown wise in a lot of these ways. Like, what is happening? And it's like, girl, as long as you keep waiting, you'll keep waiting. And also, what I love about that Empress, I love how Frigg fits into the energy of this so much, because Frigg to me, um, full clarity, honesty, transparency, most of, not most of, a fair portion of my Norse mythos knowledge came from God of War and God of War Ragnarok. Also, I watched like the Almighty Johnsons or something like that, which is interesting. Okay, okay, sorry. Synchronicity, cool. Okay. Anyway, and that the God of War mythos follows the line of belief that Frigg and Freya are the same person. But like after Odin spited Freya in whatever way, pretty much I think after, well, no, after Odin spited Freya in whatever way, after he got the, is it the, there's the Aesir and then the other people. After he got them in line through that marriage, he like spited her. Freya became Frigg, right? And in this, like, there's an actual emperor behind the wheel now. So the empress can go out and like unwind and relax and enjoy herself because she has been running herself beyond ragged. She was ran ragged a long time ago. And still she had to keep showing up. Freya or Frigg can become Freya again because whatever that mess with Odin was, why ever, whatever reason she needed to abandon the name and the persona of Freya to become Frigg and whatever armor she's like really encased herself with, that conflict is over. She can put her armor down and she can go back to that sort of like lighter, you know, version of who she is. She can afford to not so specifically be this subset of who she is. Right? Because to a lot of people, the Empress is the Empress. But to the Empress, being an Empress is only a part of who she is. Right? I'm not going to look before and after. I was not going to look before and after Freya. But apparently I am. So on one side is soul, ambition, and drive. Her ambition has returned. And in Norse mythology, soul is a lady. Freya or Frigg has become like radiant again. She is now the sun, where she was foresight, intuition, and wisdom. She's like radiant again. Love that. And don't they even look kind of similar? It could just be the artistry. She's radiant again. Love that for her. And then on the other side is Frosty, mindfulness, lightness, and impermanence. You know, let's go for lightness and ambition and drive. Love that for her. Cool. Maybe the Empress was empressing for so long that maybe she forgot. that there's more to her identity than being the Empress. Maybe she forgot, like, that she used to be fun, right? She's giving for like young people becoming adults. It's coming of age. What's the coming of age for like a parent? When it's like, you did the kid thing and like now your kids have flown the nest and like you're rediscovering you after or at the point where your motherly duties have alleviated some because your kids have, they've left the nest or they're adults now. And so she's like rediscovering herself. It's almost one of those like, I used to be fun. I used to whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you have an empty nest. So what's stopping you from being fun now? Before you had duties and responsibilities, fair, but you don't have those anymore. So, and that's her, like, that's her movie of like taking off the armor and like letting down her hair and like, maybe she gets drunk and she gets a limo and they go, whoo, down the, I don't know, highway. I love that for her. And again, anyway, I feel like the point is made. All right. Final card. Oh, goodness. Okay. Way too many. We have Nana, steadfastness and loyalty, Garcimia Nas, treasure, beauty, and design, earth, the present. I love the present, especially after that. Vali, reconciliation, and Ran, intuition, subconscious, and currents. Love these. Cool. We'll just, there you go. Oh my gosh. Did somebody fall out? No. So steadfastness and loyalty, treasure, beauty, design, the present, reconciliation, intuition, subconscious, and currents. Maybe intuitively and subconsciously. Subconsciously, it's a desire that it's almost like it's a desire that may have been on the back burner and suppressed for so long that it's become subconscious. But now your intuition, intuitively, you're starting to like maybe see the signs that it's time to like prioritize those things because whatever commitment you had to something has been fulfilled, especially if there is that emperor behind the wheel. Symbolically, so two cards fell to the floor: Gird, artfulness, and Sif, earth, fertility, and family. Right. I'm not monetized, so I ain't gotta censor the art. If it's a star card and she got a little nipple out, it's a star card and she got a little nipple out. We're all adults here. Bottom of the deck is interesting. If there is an emperor behind the wheel, take it easy, girl. Symbolically. I ain't saying anybody need a man. I ain't saying no woman need a man to come in and do both. Symbolically, energetically. And what I love about this is because again, Ron was the last card in this like 5 cards that had made a lot of noise, right? The bottom of the deck is her husband, Aegir or Aegir. Hospitality, abundance, and currents. Intuition, subconscious, and currents. Bottom of the deck. And then under him, under her husband, is Hlyn, reassurance and protection. Reassurance and protection with her husband at the bottom of the deck. I love it. I love it. I do. I do. It is very, very true. Loving it for you. Especially for the empresses that's been empressing for a long time. For so long, you don't even remember your name. You just the empress. People call you empress. And you're like, I used to have a name. There used to be something else that people would call me that I would respond to. Sarah. No, I'm just I don't, I don't know. Cool. I feel like I don't even need a final card from the vice versa tarot, but I'm still going to shuffle it. And I might actually use it again. This may be my tarot deck on standby. After I use, well, let's just go there. Idrisil led us to it with that Two of Wands that held both the water and fire. So let's just go straight to the Tarot Apocalypsis. Right? So I'm a timestamp. Oh my gosh. I told my number one fan. And what I found Bubba, which is like this big cup that I have. I used to have this big cup. It held like half a gallon of water. And I'm a drinker. If there's a liquid in front of me, I'm gonna drink it. And it was more convenient to get my fluids in with a larger size container than like having to fill up this other cup multiple times, especially since it's filtered water. I can filter the water, fill my cup up, and then have a full pitcher for, not steadily depleting it. Anyway, I found the cup in storage. I didn't find the one I was looking for, but I found Bubba. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for a cup and everything is so Stanley these days. I don't find what I want. Like I found that. I found so many like treasures today that I already have. They've been chilling in storage for a minute. What's Tarot Apocalypsis? That's the Heavenly Father. I keep saying Father. Heavenly Fire and Earthly Waters. Is that what I'll call it? Heavenly Fires, Earthly Waters. And we're going to say this is 11655. It's so interesting because both Ron and Igir, I want to say Igir. I said I wasn't going to get caught up on the names and I got caught up on the names. Both Ron and Igir were the currents, right? They were currents. So I'm like, oh, water, water, got it. Water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. Are we given Tantalus? Water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. And not a drop, not a drip. Interesting. We had the Hermit and the Queen of Pentacles before. Is that Durga? Excuse me, I can't remember if the Queen of Pentacles is Durga. No, I think Durga is the strength card in this deck. Because you see her with the tiger. Is that? That's not. Oh, not Shakti. What's her name? It starts with a P, I want to say. I can't remember. Here she is. She is Lakshmi, goddess of fortune and prosperity. That's so interesting to me. It's fine. For another day. For another day, for another time. King of Swords and the Ten of Wands at the cut. The energy of the Ten of Wands came out recently with that guy carrying the whole pyramid on his back. And then we just saw the King of Swords. It's Odin. Ooh, we saw Odin. Well, we saw a lot. I think Odin was somewhere where I mentioned him, right? Was it the bottom three? Or maybe I just saw him. Especially coming off the Frigg and Freya. All right. Ooh, title card with Odin. Are we talking about the things that Odin still doesn't know? Because even though he hanged from the world tree, he ain't hang long enough. Hung enough to do something dangerous. Or hanged long enough to do something dangerous, but not long enough to get some real sense. The Two of Wands and Four of Swords just flipped over. It's interesting, or they fell out. Yeah, they flipped over. Sorry. The Two of Wands and the Four of Swords flipped over. It's interesting that the Two of Wands fell out, flipped over. That was the Three of Wands that we saw, not the Two of Wands. But they're in this very similar position. They're both like, what is this? A semi recline? They're like laying. You see how he's laying, and then you see how she's laying, and they're both laying. This is giving me vibes of the tale of the wolf in the archetypes, and which reminds me of the forest clearing. Speaking of Twilight Realm, um, it's that it's similar to in nature, similar to the tower outside of time, if not the same place, definitely a similar vibe. And the wolf in that story guides people out of the forest. There are no guides to that tower. The only thing that can guide you to that tower is yourself. And the only way that you can navigate the realm of that tower is to do all that stuff to get to the point where the conflict is over, and then to put the conflict behind you. Once it's over, once the conflict is over, then you put it behind you. Once an emperor is behind the wheel, then you can go out with your girls. But if you're still in an actively contentious and confrontational situation, if the conflict is still ongoing, or if real emperor, true emperor energy ain't behind the wheel, then maybe you don't abandon your post just yet, girly. Like, give it a second. But it's like they've stopped within that forest. The wolf is asleep. Again, the only guidance the wolf has is the way out. It can't take you deeper. She's giving Lost Woods from The Legend of Zelda type energy. It's like it'll help you out. It's like it'll help you out of the labyrinth, but it's not going to help you get to the center. And so they're just like stopped. This could be people following the wolves that are getting further and further away from that Eden energy. This is the one that recognizes the wolf will only guide them away. And so they're like taking a rest, they're collecting themselves, trying to figure out, okay, like, how do I move forward? How do I get even closer? It's like literally like with the fire here, burning the midnight oil, trying to, figure it out. Maybe while it looks like a lot of other people are making progress, but maybe they're not. Low hanging fruit, it could also be something like that. Someone is taking the time to really nurture and care for themselves, even if everyone around them is still, on the hamster wheel, running the rat race. They're not letting their stillness be perturbed by the motion of others. So if you were to throw a whole bunch of rocks into this pool and pond, this would be the still spot. It doesn't matter how close you throw the rock or how big of a rock you throw. When that ripple reaches this point, it flatlines. because it's a place of pure stillness. And sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you got to, what is it? Be patient and wait, right? Type energy. Sometimes you got to be still to see, to hear, to really receive that guidance. And you can't be listening to and doing what everybody else is doing or what everybody else tell you to do. The Four of Cups, which we see a lot, the Two of Cups, which we've just seen, and the King of Swords are at the bottom of the deck with the title card under that King of Swords. This is such an interesting energy. Imagine, and then, yes, yes, I love this. The Ace of Swords is behind the title card, and you even see the runes on the Ace of Swords. There are runes that you see and you will recognize, just like, the ones that Odin has seen and recognized. But there are also runes that you won't see. Because again, it's playing into that energy of like, he hanged long enough to be dangerous, but not long enough to get a more complete picture. And it's literally on the other side of that title card was that Ace of Swords. And literally the Fool that has crossed the threshold and is walking forward. I love this energy. And you see that gateway, that archway behind the Fool that's still walking with the cup on fire, fire and water. What? This Fool has entered that space, the twilight space. To claim the knowledge that Odin left at the tree. Anyway, it was reading like, though, with the Four of Cups and this Two of Cups and then Odin and then that title card, it's almost reading like someone has taken themselves to the world tree and they're hanging from the world tree and they're getting all this knowledge. It's almost like Odin is like watching someone else hang on the world tree, waiting to see if they get anything that Odin himself didn't get. They do. They see that Ace of Swords with the runes that he couldn't see, and he sacrificed one of his eyes. He didn't hang long enough, and now he's one eye blind. It's almost like he still will be able to see what that is. I don't know, but again, and I love that this is here literally after this energy of this, like, this energy has stopped in the woods and it's just like waiting, resting, recuperating, reflecting. How do I move forward? Maybe once certain people, not certain people, maybe a lot of people, once they hit a certain wall, they pack it up and they keep moving. This one continues to wait. That's why they see what even Odin himself couldn't see. The Ace of Swords behind the title card. And the Fool, I love the Fool walking right into it. Cup on fire, heavenly fire, earthly waters. It's the meeting of the two. This is like that, the third mysterious thing, the third application. It's one thing to know that it's when it's summer in the northern hemisphere, it's winter in the southern hemisphere. It's another thing to go, I'm going to the southern hemisphere in the summer. I'm going to the southern hemisphere while it's summer up in the northern hemisphere. So if I'm going down south, I might want to pack for the winter that they're having and not the summer that I'm having where I am. It's one thing to know the first thing, it's another thing to know that second thing, and it's a third thing entirely to take that to even the next level. Whatever that is, that's beyond here. It's, if this resonates for you, it's for you. And if you have the patience and the wherewithal to discover what that is, don't let me know down in the comments. I'm not gonna say keep it to yourself, but I don't know. Anybody and everybody can read these comments. You know what I mean? Not that it's necessarily one thing or another, but have I been in somebody's comment section before? Like, oh my gosh, blah 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 blah, a long time ago? Yeah. Do I regret it? Kind of, sort of, not really. I mean, it's not a strong regret, but you wouldn't catch me doing that now for sure. For sure, you would not catch me doing that now. Anyway, and then you see the Six of Swords. And the Seven of Wands is behind the Six of Swords. Now, this could be that legion of people with the Seven of Wands. And then Strength, Durga, there she is. Strength, and the Ten of Wands. The one that can carry the whole pair. What you mean? It take a whole team of y'all to move one block. I'm too hyped. Let me. I'm sorry. Let me calm down a little bit. I'm too hyped. Six of Swords, especially after that Fool energy. What's the Chef's Kiss? I don't know. I'm trying to do too much. I'm like, I can't even remember how to do a Chef's Kiss. Is it? Yeah. Magnifique. And to Strength. I was like, is this Durga? Where's Durga? There's Durga. Strength. Again, with the lion and the eagle behind the back of Temperance. And then here's a whole Strength with that whole Ace of Swords. I better quit playing with me. And then the Ace of Wands under that Ten of Wands. The Magician is right here. The Magician is in between the Nine of Swords and the Six of Wands, where so many may have stumbled and crumbled and fell before. Odin hanged for 9 days. Right? There's the 9. But missed, hanged for 9, and missed the 1. Come on. Ace of Swords. The rooms that he can't even read, discern, would be blank to him. Hanged for 9 before he got off. Again, like all of this, while all of this movement is happening back here, still love it. And that's why on the other side of that Nine of Swords is the Six of Wands. To have accomplished that, rather than to have been another that sort of reached, you know. And it's not a whole bunch of stuff that it isn't. But it is what it is. And this ain't the time to... I mean, when you're in Empress mode, sure. Maybe like, I am this unpublic facing and I have to be sensitive to the state and the environment and the lives of the people. But when you with your girls, you ain't got to downplay. You don't have to dilute. You don't have to, like, try to find something that whatever, because everything could, if it's good, it's good. Some people Nine of Swords and they give up and they walk away. They learn enough to be dangerous, but not enough to know better, learn better, have some kind of sense, or to navigate themselves out of their situation. You can learn enough to make it worse, not necessarily enough to make it better. But the Six of Wands, after we already saw that Ten of Wands, it takes legions of people to carry one block. After that, you got the Strength. It takes legions of people to carry that one block when you can move a whole pyramid. Hello? This is done. We don't need nothing more. This is over. I mean, we don't. And plus, again, what am I going to say? I don't know. I can't even metaphorically think of what the third peace would be. Right? It's one thing to know something, it's another thing to practically apply that knowledge. But it's a third thing entirely to transcend it, girl, to the point where I can't even think of a metaphor. Just make sure you don't keep yourself anywhere that ain't necessarily for you no more. If there are times where you have to put on the armor, times where you have to put on the crown and sit on your throne, of course you do what you got to do. But if you get the opportunity to kick your shoes off, go barefoot, running with the girls, drinks in hand, living your best life. Hello, Sarah. You better leave that empress crown to let the emperor handle whatever. Let the emperor relieve you so you can go and take care of yourself. I think sometimes too, it's like it's one thing to know that we're at a point of transition and transformation, and it's another to allow ourselves to be reborn, right? It's like, yeah, you've got an empty nest and you know that like you really want to rediscover you, but you're like worried about joining, the neighborhood walkers or like actually engaging in your hobbies and interests or doing anything that would allow you to actually be Sarah again or whatever and not just Billy's mom. Willing, capable, able, and doing it. Strength and doing it. More than willing and able, more than capable, doing it. That was a slow fall. Final card, we have the Queen of Swords. And especially, like, again, in terms of like carrying through this, when I went to this deck after the Norse divination cards, it's because we saw that it was because I wanted to free up another tarot deck. It was also because we saw the play between fire and water in that Three of Wands. I did not consciously at that point remember that the sword core, the swords suite is keyed into the Norse pantheon. I forgot about that. Now we see this lady, and she ain't necessarily our Frigg Freya, but because we saw Odin, the King of Swords, she's given Frigg Freya today. Her and her own woman. For the purposes of this, Odin was just another one of those dude bros sitting in that death card trying to manipulate all this other stuff, was never really behind the wheel holding the Ankh. He wasn't behind the wheel holding an Ankh because the woman he got, Freya, he scorned. She became Frigg. When Freya became Frigg, Odin no longer had the right to hold that Ankh like he did when he was with her and treating her right. But Odin isn't going to tell anybody that. Odin is going to do his best to make sure nobody knows that. Odin kept perpetrating. And the more he perpetrated, the worse things got. Hanged long enough to be dangerous, but not long enough to get out of that situation or to really have some common sense. But now, if she got to be both Empress and Sally Sarah Sue, she can be both. But I don't know who her emperor is. I mean, we saw Ron and Aegir. I don't know who Freya's Aegir is. I know for certain it ain't gonna be Odin. Odin had his turn, he had his chance, and he ruined it. Thought he got what he needed from her, thought he had the right to do whatever. And of course, again, that's in the telling of this. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. When they had you, they ain't treat you right, and they fumbled you. And rather than going out and just repeating the same karmic cycle over and over and over and over and over again with somebody else that ain't gonna treat you right or do whatever, rather than continuing to abide that toxic version of love that you learned because of who your first love or first loves or what your first exposure to love was, learning what love is, getting that, and then realizing when that's behind the wheel. And again, Odin could never. Not only did he not do it when he had the chance, but still he could never. But again, maybe it's a certain type of work that you used to do that was just like draining to you. And maybe instead of going back to that, you've been really sticking to your guns and waiting for finding something, developing, exploring, self entrepreneuring, so that you can, it's almost like meet those financial needs and remain intact type energy. Maybe it is related to like not only romantic love, but also like familial and platonic, finding people that are supportive and not just crumbling, being picked apart by an environment where people aren't supportive. It's like, again, when you're out of that, it's you're out of it. So remove yourself from those situations for one. And when you're out of it, you can take off the armor because you're not in it. And that abrasiveness sometimes can keep you from really fitting into those places that, like, she wouldn't have been able to wear that if she had all that armor on. Her armor would have torn that fabric to ribbons type energy. Cool. So from here, we'll go to La Fruma because I'm feeling it. And then I guess we'll end with I love I love it because of what it is. I almost want to do it now because it almost does. It doesn't answer the question. I'm going to do this instead. It doesn't answer the question of what is the fool doing in that twilight sort of realm, but it carries forward that energy. I don't know if La Fruma is necessarily going to be the destination or a destination. I kind of don't see how it could be, kind of, but I know the cards could always come out, and there are cards in this deck that I know that I'm not immediately thinking of. Um, but I know that the significator for that is more so in the process. So we'll actually come here first, and then we'll end with the Fruma. Cool. So the let's do the Path Unpaved. The Path Unpaved. 143 20. 14320. Love it. I could have did 14321. So now we're using the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. There's a few cards in this deck that have been coming to mind. The 10 of Fire, that I'm pretty sure I pulled up on my phone. But we're looking for, I think it's the Chariot. I could be wrong. It may not be the Chariot. And if it is the Chariot, I don't think it's called the Chariot. But I'll know the image. Actually, we're going to be looking. It's not the Chariot. It might be the One of Fire. It may be the One of Fire. But in the vice versa, I'm going to look. There is the Chariot and the vice versa. And it's one side of the Chariot because those two together complete the image. Cool. All right. We have love, number 12, love, and the One of Earth. So it's not the One of Fire, it may be the 10. I have the image in my mind. I know it has like a spider on it, and I'm pretty sure it's in the element of fire. What I immediately love about this love card is the last time we saw an angel, she was in temperance. This time, this angel is like, ooh, she's like, congratulations, you go, girl. Doom, doom, do, do, do. She's giving the muses. She's giving terpsichore. She's giving Cleo. She's giving, girl, I can't remember, Melpomene, the muses from Hercules, specifically the Disney Hercules muses. Ooh, that Zero the hero. That she's like, okay, I see you. All right, I see you. And I'm not talking about the intensive care unit because you've been there. You have been discharged from the intensive care unit, and she sees you living your best life, just like she was there at your bedside when you was going through it. She is so happy to see you up and vibrant again, especially when you get to that point. It may be happening for you, it may be about to happen for you. It may be something that you dream of that you'll never experience because you'll keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Make sure that's not you because we don't want it to be you, but it could be. And at that point, it ain't nobody destiny swapping. It ain't this, it ain't that. It's you and the things that you chose not to do. It is what it is, and it ain't gonna be what it ain't gonna be. Sometimes we sugarcoat and sugarcoat and sugarcoat, and we try to placate and do all this stuff to the point that nothing ever changes and nothing ever happens because you're told that you're amazing, and you are. But get up and be amazing. Hello, hey Holly, how you doing? I don't know. Something shifted here, and I'm loving it. We have knowledge and the seven of air. The seven of air is the space of the seven of swords. The seven of swords, specifically in the SKT, not the SKT, the seven of swords, specifically in the Wadanon Tarot, is my card of birthright. The energy of the seven of swords being my card of birthright has been here. So I love that there's the seven of swords where that book is held. She's all like celestial and angelic, right? And then on the other side, we see the card of knowledge where he is reading that book. He has claimed his birthright and he is learning. Again. Oops. It ain't really shuffling. Right? Me too. These cards are not shuffling. I keep trying to. They're not coming together. There we go. Let me be a little bit more present. Maybe let me calm down a little bit. So the cards will shuffle together. There we go. Look at it. That's a decent one. See, look at that. Okay. 3, 2, 1. And a cut. We are looking before and after that one card. I'll tell you when I find it. Bottom of the deck. Guess what card is at the bottom of the deck? It's love. She see you doing your thing. Journey. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I'm getting like really hype. I'm getting really hype and I'm low key kind of sort of getting the chills a little bit. She sees you, right? Doing your thing, right? Remember? The card that came out next is the card of Journey. What I love about this card of Journey is this is that bothness. This one person is both, one individual. And it's not taking this path and it's not taking that path. But it walks forward. It walks forward and it treads its own path. This is so important for the card that we're looking for in this deck. Again, whole within self, all of it. That's why she's like, okay, girl, I see you. I see you. And then after that, is this the 10 of air? Body and mind. Connected. Body and mind. And whatever that is above. Literally. Bottom three. That's a teaser. You remember how in when I went looking for the east. This is the east where we had the blade with the seven of swords. Interesting. The blade completion and the five of swords. And then I went looking for that destroyer energy because it is the embodiment of both. I went looking for that destroyer energy because it was like, and someone exercising their will, someone exercising the will that they have been divinely permitted to exercise. It was that energy of like it's summoning like God hands to come in and do whatever. It's almost like literally this kind of energy. Here's this body mind connection with this whole individual. And then you see this dragon. This dragon, to me, in this context, is reading like the expression of this person as this whole body mind altogether individual. This dragon reads like this person acting in their will. When this person acts in their will, it appears as this dragon. And if you didn't know, if you didn't have the eyes to see, if you didn't know, you would think that that dragon energy is some kind of divine energy, the way that it moves and the way that its will is recognized by the creation. You would think, oh, someone has like a really, really strong connection to the divine. And this is how the divine, it's like you wouldn't recognize that this is basically them. This is how their will shows up and manifests as it moves because of their journey, and because the journey that they walked and the path that they now take that is their own. And that's what I'm gonna say. It's giving that. And you know what's after that? Healing. But again, you gotta, after the conflict is over, you gotta take the armor off and let it go. Okay. Now this deck, when she speaks, and sometimes it's in a language that I barely understand, if I understand it at all. That's what I saw, but that is not the image. Let me not question myself. I know it's in here. I'm like, is the card in here? Yes, I know it's in here. It's like I see so many elements and aspects of it, but the card itself. Okay, girl. It's this one. Guess what the card is? It's number 20. I love this. I love the synchronicities in this. This is made, it sits in the space of the major arcana and it's numbered 22. 22. Number 22. It's after the world. Again, with that Twilight Zone type energy, with the fool that it makes it to the end of the journey, but it continues where Odin's vision stopped and that fool kept walking. It's number 22. It's after the world. This is the card I was looking for because of this. So it is. This is the image. It's part of the image that came to mind, but I thought it was red. And when I saw that red spider, when I saw the red spider, I was like, "Ooh, okay." Like I know there's a spider in the card. And I was like, let me trust myself. Literally at the top of the deck. Just like Frigg was at the top of the deck, just like Frigg also is the domain of intuition, wasn't it? Foresight, wisdom, and intuition. Intuition is at the top of the deck. She's giving that Frigg energy. And the card before it is the Four of Fire. Yeah, this is some real Poindexter type ish. But you know what I immediately recognize? In body and mind, there was this thing that represented something greater that also plays into this dragon. There's the body and the mind, but then there's this. You see that with an eyeball. Here, you don't see it with an eye. In this Four of Fire, you see it, and there's an eyeball in it. But that's only one piece. That's only one part. You see that? And it's before intuition. And she said, that's all I'm saying. I said, okay. Again, I feel like, oh, we're still looking for the chariot. So we're not done yet. Before that is the crone. And before the crone is integrity, number 23, even one more beyond that. And the maiden, integrity, and the crone. From maiden to crone, she's always been true. But it's that resting posture of integrity, just like we saw in the Four of Swords and the Two of Wands. Before I get ahead of myself and try to move when I'm not ready to move, before I follow the crowd or do what somebody else tell me I should do that'll take me away, further away from this, let me be still within myself and wait. Let me introspect. Let me reflect. Let me get clear. Let me wait for that clarity. We also saw that I Ching, wait for clarity. But it literally came out with the Queen of Swords, in the Fable Makers animated tarot. And it had that one butterfly. It had that one golden yellow butterfly, just like we see the yellow butterflies here, that was flapping this way, blowing away the clouds, leading, like producing that clarity. And you saw the other three butterflies that were trying to fight it, but they couldn't overcome that one that was bringing in that clarity, removing the fog. We had fog in the south that was being dispersed in the north from yesterday. And also, we saw owls in the east and the west. There's the owl with a cat, the cat of the lion, the cat of the tiger, the lion that we saw on the back of Temperance, the tiger, I believe, that we saw with Durga and Strength. And now, not only do we see the owl, but we also see the lion. Also, bird and cat. Instead of eagle and lion, it's owl and cheetah, question mark. And then again, there's the maiden. Love that. I love this so much. So much I do. So much I do. I do. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. I feel like there comes a certain point in time where you gotta stop picking the low hanging fruit, and you gotta let people pick their own fruits. I feel like that point in time is very swiftly coming because I feel like this is a step beyond a step. Also, we see an owl here. She's holding it. So it's one thing to be recognized on this journey. But again, at the journey, they still haven't really started. They have begun that path, but this is like the beginning of that journey. It's like a next phase of the journey that's a whole journey. Beyond the world is a whole journey, and you're journeying uncharted territory. It may exist in that twilight sort of realm, but within the space of the world, when you couldn't see the two people standing behind that Ace of Cups fountain, standing behind the fountain in the Ace of Cups, and where the figure in the fountain was made of stone, but in the twilight zone, it was like the wild woman who was like living her best life, who was so excited. That's the wild woman who was so excited that somebody finally, some emperor finally took the Ankh to the Wheel of Fortune, did whatever that whole masculine thing was that they was doing behind the wheel that lets the empress. She's like, oh my gosh, like Sarah is back. She been empress, and that's why she was like running through the fields naked. She was like, my girl is back, and we're hanging out. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen her since she started having kids like 30 billion years ago. Finally, somebody can come and take care of these kids long enough for us to have like our time, type energy. Anyway, again, I said I was going to calm down. So this is the beginning of the journey. That I is like one thing, but when it comes to like actually charting this or laying the foundation and the framework, there has to be like there's an eye there that needs to be open. It's opened here. This again, it's still only it's like it's one step to sort of reach this dragon wheel energy. That's another part in and of itself, but it's another thing to actually begin to weave the unwoven, because now the eye is there, right? Let's say dragon form is a capability thing, and let's say this is happening in the void of space. Dragon form is happening in the void of space. This is that whole, once their bodies become sufficiently magical, they don't have brains and lungs anymore, so they can exist in space because they don't need to breathe. They can go underwater, they can go in space, anywhere where there is no oxygen, they'll be perfectly fine because they don't need to breathe anymore. And that's a physiological thing. That's not a I can manifest or like envision or call to. That's a physiological thing. You can think that you don't need air all day long, but if you starve yourself of oxygen and you still got lungs that function to a heart that function to a brain, and you deprive yourself of that, it ain't gonna function for long. It's a change so profoundly spiritual, mental, emotional that it becomes also physiological. And then you don't have lungs or a brain anymore, so you can go into space because you don't need to breathe. You don't have a heart that's pumping oxygen to the different organs in your body because you're magical now. You're magical AF. So like this is becoming magical, and there's also a framework for this kind of within that same literary system. This is becoming magical, but this is the beginnings of transversing the cosmos. Here there's an eye again, there's an eye in that. It's not just whatever. It's the beginning of transversing the cosmos. Now it's forming those bridges. Can I also look before and after Bifrost Rainbow Bridge? We did see the Rainbow Bridge in the slide. I have the Lafruma now. Maybe I will. I'll look before and after Bifrost, and I'll look before and after Anwilla. I'm like, not Igashammer, not Igashammer, not Igashammer. Cool. And now look at this. Oh, it's the Lovers. I thought it was Temperance. Oh, look, it's the Lovers. with that angel at the top. Just like we have love with this angel figure. And then instead of it being two people with the angel, it's one whole person with the angel. Here's a whole person with the angel, and here you see all of it in one card. Cool. The image, the imagery is strong today. It's strong today. Lovers, the Two of Pentacles, and the title card. See, I feel like you could say, and maybe I'm saying it because at this point I'm biased. Is this confirmation bias? We'll call it synchronicity because the cards ain't have to come out. They really didn't. I ain't have to get all this visual synchronicity. Because again, it was that like when you exercise your will, this is like it's the divine coming to you asking you to use your will to do something. And it's kind of sort of giving like this. I don't know what it is, I don't know how. The angel comes to the one we've literally just seen, the one that now traverses the cosmos. Web weaver, I guess we'll call you I want to say Orbis for some reason. Isn't there like an orb spider? I don't know. Anyway, I'll just say, yeah, Orbis. Why not? They come to you, Orbis, and like, hey, you know that like dragon form thing, yeah, and it's going to be beneficial for you too because this is, maybe it's in the beginning. It doesn't. It can be at any point. It don't necessarily got to be in the beginning. If it's in the beginning, it will be one of the premier experiences that teaches you how to use your will. Whatever, girl, take it as it resonate. If it resonate, if it don't resonate, don't take it. Don't ask me questions because I'm just reading it. Just because I can read it don't mean I can understand it. I can read Spanish. Maybe not great. I can read it. Do I know what it means even if I can pronounce it? No. Just because I can read it and pronounce it don't mean I know what it means. Hello. But so it's like the divine that comes, it's like, hey, can you use like your will to do something? And you're like, sure thing. And look how even this is. I feel like I'm not going to do it justice. To be fair, it is like slightly off within the realm of human error and human capability or whatever this is. Because sometimes the Two of Pentacles is like real whatever. And it's like, yeah, sure thing. So the Two of Pentacles does whatever down here, puts it up, and then the divine takes it and it's like, thanks. But it's like title card. Guess what's after the title card again? Again after the title card. Ace of Swords. This is a person holding the Ace of Swords. I love this. I love this energy. This is a person holding it. Usually when it comes to the Ace of Swords, I look at how the crown is positioned relative to the hilt, right? Because the Ace of Swords, again, literally after the title card, like we just saw. So again, don't ask me how or what, why. I don't know. If I were to just look at this, I would be, this is like somebody missing the point completely. If the crown is at the top of the sword, it's information that maybe we're exposed to, but we don't know what to do with it because this is where we hold the sword. So if the crown is all the way up here, it's still pretty far from the hand. But the sword is on, the hand is on the sword. This isn't a sword in the clouds by the divine. And again, it fits this Orbis energy. And the crown is still up there. Sword in hand and the crown is still up there. I don't know, girl. All right. And then we got the Four of Swords after that. Love it. Because we just saw the Four of Swords in the other day. All right. I am looking for the Chariot. But I'm looking for, I think it's the back of the Chariot. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to run through the whole deck. And if I don't see it, I'm going to flip the whole deck over. How about that? It's a specific face of the chariot that I'm looking for. There she is. She's like, oh my gosh. Bill's back. Bill's back. Bill's behind the wheel. That means I get to hang out with Sarah. And she is so excited to see her girl because it's been so long. Maybe she's recently empty nested too, right? She's a recent empty nester. I'm gonna have to go to the potty again. I'm gonna have to use the restroom again. Cool. Where is our chariot? Is this gonna be at the top of the deck too? Hello? See, here's the Emperor. He's just sitting. We saw the Emperor at work. Because the Emperor was at work in the wheel, she can get up, you know. If you're curious about him, there he is. It is okay. So we have the Two of Wands. Before so it's that Emperor, the Moon. It's the Seven of Wands that we saw before. So the Tower, because it's 7-7. There's the Tower. So we saw in the King of Swords in this deck lightning that had struck in the distance. I don't think I've seen the King of Swords. So it might be. I'll get the book. I'll show you in the book because it's easier. We saw in that King of Swords lightning that had struck in the distance. I'm going to have to go to the restroom. We now know that lightning. Okay, there you go. You see in the distance that lightning striking. We now know that it's hitting this tower. Cool. I'm going to run to the restroom. I'm going to be right back. I tried. All right, I'm back. So apparently, all this energy was just sitting in storage, just waiting for a day like today. No, the cards were sitting in storage, but just because the cards were sitting in storage, the energy wasn't sitting in storage because the cards that I'm looking before and after are cards that relate to energies that I've literally been seeing and feeling, just haven't had the physical cards to pull. So the energy's been here. The cards have been in storage, but the energy has not been. Cool. All right. So why are you here? I do not know. But I guess I'll leave you. I didn't pull the final three, did I? Okay, so we have the Tower and the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands, that's the back of the Seven of Wands that we already saw. The Seven of Wands of the battle that's already over. It's like as soon as that lightning bolt struck the tower, the battle, oh my gosh. On this Tower card, on this face, this is the other face of the tower, right? Hey, look, there's that eyeball. But it's not. That's like the eye of God. This is a different eye. It's not the eye of God that's doing something, because again, this is in the vein of the divine has approached you to ask you to use your will to do whatever. We see the two sphinxes. The two sphinxes from that old will energy, the two sphinxes that pull the chariot of the charioteer that we saw in the chariot card in the Rider-Waite Smith. It's like as soon as that tower is struck, the battle is over. And then we have this emperor with the moon and the two of wands. The emperor and the moon. I feel like we've seen the moon recently too. And this is a moon. This ain't one of them sun moons. A sun moon being like, when it's the moon, but like half of it looks like it could be the moon, half is the sun. And we see these two towers. Just like we saw those two towers in the death card. Anyway. And then we have the two of wands, the chariot, and the five of pentacles. Temperance. Is this the justice? Temperance, justice, the four of pentacles, and the eight of swords are the remaining cards. So this is the chariot. This is this side of the chariot where you see the two sphinxes. And the paved path, this is the side of the chariot I wanted, because it's like as the charioteer is moving, the path is forming and unforming beneath the chariot. And again, it's the wheel, WILL, of the charioteer that moves things. The divine is asking you to use your will to do something under your chariot that is an extension of you, while you are in the vehicle, that while your will takes the form of like a vehicle, something that moves your will along, it forms and unforms under you. And look what he's holding. That we see in the Two of Cups typically, but it's like he's holding that up just like the Emperor was holding up the Ankh in that Magician card. I want to say like to sights unseen. Now this Five of Pentacles is interesting. This Five of Pentacles is interesting because we've been seeing the Five of Orbs, the Vagabond. We saw the Five of Orbs, the Vagabond. We were seeing that. Then we saw the card of travel yesterday. And in the card of travel, they were taking shelter. Now, this Five of Pentacles is giving this energy of someone who is whole, because when we see the Five of Pentacles in the SKT, and I'm not going to grab it, when we see the Five of Pentacles in the SKT, it's one person where like their light is separate from their shadow. If you recall, they're two almost, they appear to be two separate beings. But here in this Five of Pentacles, it's one person. Again, it's like the two have become one. And because it's the Five of Pentacles, it's like this isn't two that have become one at some wellness retreat in Bali, at some ayahuasca ceremony in South America somewhere. Not that it can't happen there, but this is on the Five of Pentacles. Just like the Four of Swords, we've seen the Four of Swords energy, but the Four of Swords is recovering and recuperating after the Three of Swords, and before they go back into battle at the Five of Swords. I actually am Gonna grab this and show you. Oops. Yeah, the Revelations edition. The divine is saying, "You're a keeper." The love card, you're a keeper. The keeper is the awakened, enlightened fool that's going out there doing stuff that you wouldn't think humanly possible. You know about the monks that was doing the superhuman, but it's stuff that the monks be doing that they don't even talk about. As wild as that is, it feel like that's barely scratching the surface. Because if you really know, anyway, I don't know. Just oh look, the kindred. Sorry, bottom of the deck, the kindred. Three of Cups, the three Empress energies, literally right behind the kindred is the Empress. Again, three of Cups and the Empress. And under that is the Hector, the Five of Swords. This was the card that came out representing the direction of East. The blade completion, the Hector. The blade and completion with the Empress hanging out with her girls. Love that. And you see the moon. The Norse compass type energy on the moon. And literally it was the moon next to that Emperor. Even between the Emperor and this Two of Wands, he's holding that golden orb, and then the Two of Wands is sort of doing the same. But it's like the Two of Wands holds it up to the sky. I'm going to get to this. It's giving that, like, there is no guide to the clearing, right? All of the guidance leads out. There's no guide to the center of the labyrinth. With a typical labyrinth, usually, if you navigate it correctly, it'll lead you to the middle. It's designed, there are traps along the way, but it's designed to lead you to the ultimate and final trap, because the Minotaur is supposed to win. But then, even if you defeat the Minotaur, you get lost on the way out. This is the kind of labyrinth that's always directing you out. Any guidance you receive will to be out of the labyrinth. That's why that introspection, reflection, and stuff in the Four Swords is required. Right? Anyway, we see this moon card here with the Norse compass, just as we saw. Here's the moon. 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 There's a face in the moon. There's a compass on the moon. There's some kind of whatever on the moon. Cool, got it. The Empress and the Hector. And then literally after this, after the Five of Swords, we have the Wheel of Life with the Sphinx and the Ace of Swords that we keep seeing right there. The Sphinxes are around the wheel, just like the Sphinxes were next to this down tower. But as we see in this Chariot card, his chariot, he doesn't need the Sphinxes to pull the chariot anymore. Look at that little Ace of Cups. He doesn't need the Sphinx to pull this chariot anymore. So if you're trying to find the charioteer based upon the Sphinxes, all you'll find is this ruined tower, or this tower in the process of being ruined. Anyway, just like the Emperor was at that wheel, there we got the Wheel of Life with the Sphinxes on it. Cool, love it. Looking for that Vagabond. Five of Orbs. The Vagabond. So this mess. See? Odin was that politic energy. Here's the politic with the captive. Bound her up. Tied her up. That's a lunar eclipse. That ain't that solar eclipse energy we was looking at. The Keeper is in between the Destroyer and the New World Order. If you were curious, you may not have been. Under New World Order is the Four of Swords, the Convalescent, which is, again, that energy. Four of Swords, Convalescent, and the Four of Cups, Hollow Void. Taking that cup. Doing the rest. Oh, look, that's the cup that was on the back of the chariot. When I was like, look at this cup. There's the cup. Now the cup of the divine, again, is on the back of the chariot. There it is. So we know that the charioteer took that cup. And that four of cups, we know the charioteer took it because we can see it. You can put two and two together. Everything ain't always got to be so obvious. Yeah, between the destroyer of obstacles that we literally just saw, this is this energy, but in motion. Because it's like actually doing something. Cool. You're a keeper, New World Order. The keeper is the fool that has gone from magician to the world, incorporated everything they need at every step and part, and emerges completely sort of different. You see like depictions of the white and black ravens here. Interesting. There is lion eagle. Not only lion eagle, but also bull angel. Not only that Taurus, not only that Scorpio Leo energy, but also Taurus and Aquarius. Cool. Love it. Convalescent in the Hollow Void. With the Quester, Six of Cups, and the Champion. With the Quester and the Champion. Six of Swords and that Six of Wands. You have succeeded where others have not yet. Where no one has yet succeeded. Or whatever, it's fine. Okay, I'm looking for the. I don't know what I'm looking for. So the vagabond is in between the herald of the earth and the burdened one. We've already seen the Ten of Wands as, again, you have succeeded where others have failed. For some, it takes a legion to pull one block of the pyramid. And it ain't even necessarily that, it could be the lightest block in the pyramid and it still takes a legion. Meanwhile, you carrying a whole already prefabricated, completely assembled pyramid. Here's the burden one, that Ten of Wands. We actually saw the Ten of Wands recently, and that it was giving that like Shiva Shakti energy, kinda. And then on the other side is the Herald of the Earth, which in the Tower card, you actually see the Tower card with the Axe of Shiva that removes corruption that we saw last time. And then I was like, I was getting this like Shiva Shakti energy, but I didn't know what to make of it. Yeah, I was like, did I timestamp this? I did. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, okay, actually. So the tower is in between the demon and the Holy Grail. What I love about the tower in between the demon and the Holy Grail, literally, again, the tower has the axe of Shiva that removes corruption. Here is battling the Typhon, the demon devil energy, missing an Ace of Cups. There is the Ace of Cups that is missing from that energy. The Ace of Cups is the purifying, and the tower holds the axe of Shiva that removes corruption. The purifying, removing corruption. You see the tails of that devil energy literally being cut by that axe around that tower. But that's what I'm looking for. In this Herald of the Earth, there is the orb on top of the pedestal, and then there is this like little portal thingy. You also see this like portal thingy in the sky in the tower, but we see a pearl deposited atop that Ace of Cups here. So when I saw that next to the portal, and then here's a representation of you standing next to that here. And those, you could say this is in the purified lands. because devil energy has been purified, removed, corruption removed. In the purified lands, you stand with this. Purified lands maybe also giving that twilight realm type energy. This, so in this, you see like the person and their shadow as two separate things. This could be your keeper of Karnak energy. It's a light that's so bright that it separates the person from their shadow. But in this Five of Pentacles, under that same light, they have become one, or they remain one. They remain one, even under the intense scrutiny of that light. Cool. Cool. We saw the burden one as like, yeah, anyway. Now, this Two of Wands, because we see like he's holding the orb and then we see the sun here. It's giving those twilight oranges. I wanted to say something about that orb. Something about that orb. It's like it provides some kind of illumination in that space. Is this? It's almost in a way, and it's so funny because we were seeing the owls. It's almost giving the Ool cycle that I talked about. It was like the Oreo cookie, where we are whole enough that we can do some kind of internal alchemy or reconfiguration to, instead of like the yin yang where you have like light on one side and dark on one side, if you're entering a space of pure light, it's like you can have your light envelop your darkness so that your darkness doesn't corrupt the space of light around you, but also it's like you remain, your integrity is but not integrity in terms of like what, like structural integrity type integrity, right? Your shadow doesn't leak out of you and then like get plastered across the wall of the temple. You don't have this type of situation, right? When you can envelop your darkness in your light, you can enter a space of pure light and remain whole, and vice versa, right? Now, you could say, because I never necessarily envisioned an Aksunade energy where you were the sun, but maybe it's not too far of a stretch with all that Queen of Wands energy that was coming out. Anyway, because the divine is asking, take it as it resonates, because the divine is asking you for a favor. And I actually thought about this not too long ago. It gives me the story of, or it calls to mind, I think it's in the Lakota Sioux traditions. I don't think it's Wakinyon. There is like a being of darkness that is being chased, pursued by a being of light, a goddess of light. I'm pretty sure there's a creature of darkness being pursued by the goddess of light. The creature flies into the ocean, and the goddess approaches the turtle, and the goddess is like, it could have been a god. The deity of light approaches the turtle and asks the turtle if it will go into the water to find that creature of darkness because it cannot go into the ocean. I feel like in the story, from what I recall, the turtle was kind of like, what's in it for me? Maybe not. Eventually, the turtle agrees. The turtle is blessed by the deity of light and carries the light of that deity into the darkness. It goes into a space where the deity itself cannot go, right? But it's almost like the turtle was a Trojan horse of sorts. Because if it were to approach with that light almost like blaring and shining, it would have continued to chase that darkness away. But it's not until the turtle was there that then it turned on the light, right? Type energy. And again, because it's this side of the tower, the lightning bolt, this is where the lightning falls that we saw with the King of Swords. It's not this side with the eye of God striking, but you carry an eye that is open. You can go into that space. You can do something that maybe the divine can't do, because if the divine were to do it, it would be a violation of free will. Right. When God promised that he wouldn't flood the earth again, type energy. It's like if I were to clean it up, it would be there would be nothing left. And if you want it tomorrow, you want you to clean this up. Because if again, type energy. So even in the space of darkness, you still hold your light to the point where, and then it's almost like when the time comes, maybe that's when you pull out this orb of light. You venture into the dark, not disturbing anything, metaphorically, symbolically. Just like how we saw a police car the other day that didn't have its, like, the lights were flashing but the siren wasn't on. So it's like the lights are flashing so that you know to stop and let them go, do whatever, but the sirens aren't on because they don't want the perpetrator or the criminal or whatever to run away, to flee before they get to the car. So sometimes they turn the siren off but leave the lights on. It's almost like that sirens off type energy until you pull up, and then bam, you pull out the orb, and then bam, the sun is in the sky, and they're like, gotcha. I don't know. That's one way to metaphorically read the favor that you do. It's also another way. That story also, I feel like, provides a great example of, like, in that deity went to the turtle to do something that it could not do on earth. So I don't know, you exercising your will as if God had said, "Let there be light." I can read it, translating it, girl. I don't know. Take it as it resonate if it resonates. And I feel like it also can be a little like what, but that's again why I kind of love that, because she did it with the turtle, and the turtle went right down there. The turtle was like, "Girl, I can do this easy." The creature of night. It's also giving the scorpion with the night in the deck of many things, or the deck of many fates. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Where the scorpion feared the dragon. And so the dragon sent the knight. It's like the knight's sword was forged in dragon breath and in dragon flame. The scorpion didn't recognize that breath when it came in the form of the blade that was honed in it. That's why the knight could get close enough to get that scorpion. Because if the scorpion would have seen the dragon, it would have fled. And this is so interesting because why is it interesting? My throat started acting up, and then I'm like, I gotta get a little something to drink. It's so interesting because For God so loved the world that he. I mean, you could say he kind of already did with Jesus in a way, not necessarily. Jesus came to earth to do something that God needed Jesus to do. Girl, who am I? Who am I? Don't ask me. I don't know. Why was that so interesting? I feel like that played on something. The scorpion that didn't recognize the scorpion that was because it's interesting because we recently saw, was it something in Judgment? We recently saw there was an energy of like there it's not that it was a crime that somebody was allowed to commit, but it's like you can't try someone for a crime that they haven't committed. So Judgment energy was there to wait for someone to commit the crime to then charge them for it. Because before it was committed, they could have been like, oh, I wouldn't have done this and I wouldn't have done that. And it's like, no matter if you can prove this is what their search history said, this is what they got, obviously, this is not a direct whatever. Because we have free will and because we could change at any point in time. There are people who made up their minds to do one thing and then they had an encounter with one person and they walked away doing something completely different because of one person. And everybody should be thankful that that one person had the capacity and the intuition, discernment, and the kindness to do that because it could have went a completely different way. But it was that energy. It was that energy of judgment that was waiting until somebody did something because you can't try something for a crime that they didn't commit. Right. And so it's like that's the turtle. The scorpion isn't afraid of the night. The scorpion is afraid of the dragon. And it's interesting that the dragon is sort of here. Also, we have an egg. Spider plus egg equals dragon? Question mark. Here and here. Excuse me. Whatever that creature of night was, it wasn't afraid of the turtle. Who's afraid of a turtle? But when that scorpion feels the sting of that blade, it's like, oh, girl, why is it cutting me like dragon fire? Because that's what it was forged in. And when that turtle used that gift of light, however it used it, like, what? Again, I feel like it metaphorically, it makes more sense than, but there's low hanging fruit. Sometimes people need the light of the divine in the flesh. And that could be going into a space of light where your light has enveloped your darkness and you don't disrupt that whatever. Right? If you are the person that changes someone's day, come around 100%. If they approach you with attitude and you give them attitude, you're just going to be another person. And if their attitude calls out your shadow or darkness, you're just another person on their way to do whatever they were doing. But when you can whatever and still give them whatever, it's like that's what changes them. Right? When your light can keep your darkness in check, basically, even if it's exacerbated. That's being light in a space of light and your darkness not throwing everything into chaos. When you are the turtle that's going undercover, right? That's when your darkness conceals your light enough that it doesn't disrupt the environment until it's time to do so. Then it's like, gotcha. Game over. Next. Cool. I don't know if we necessarily got what we were. I think so. I don't know what more there is to get, honestly. Then you really come like divine in the flesh. It's like every other dualistic being, fragments and polarizes under this light. But you remain whole. What is your secret? Oh, look! Cut into the Three of Wands with that orb. This time we see this side and Temperance. We see the opposite side of both of them. I almost want to use the in-between tarot. I won't. All right, I'm not necessarily done with this yet, so I'm not getting the final card from here. Now we see the other side of death. We see the pale horse. And the eyes of this pale horse glow with the same light as that orb in the Two of Wands that called the sun. Gotcha. And you can't say you didn't because you did. And it's like, oh my gosh, how did you know? It's like, girl, you're very smart and you're very clever and you're very sneaky and you're very sly. And because ain't nobody say nothing, you thought you had gotten away with it. Until you don't. Obviously, you know, it's not you, unless it is you. I don't know who's coming across these videos. Anyway, it's fine. All right, final card from, we got a flip already. The Dreams of Gaia. From the Dreams of Gaia. She was blue, I'm pretty sure. She's not blue at all. It's the Nine of Earth. Nine of Earth is pre-Empress energy. No, Nine of Earth is minor Empress energy. Queen of Pentacles is pre-Empress energy, and the Empress is the Empress. Maybe instead of minor Empress, pre-Empress, and Empress, maybe the Nine of Earth is the Empress in plain clothes today. It's the Empress as Sarah that we saw in the Three of Cups. And she's even wearing this like flowy type situation like we saw in that Three of Cups. It's different. But she's offering a cup. There's the golden butterfly from love, from the Queen of Swords. There's the cup. There's our lady in loose flowy thing, loose flowy clothing with a cup. Like the Three of Cups, but it's the Nine of Earth. This is maybe an Empress in plain clothes. It ain't necessarily the Empress is an Empress, but Empress in plain clothes, the divine in the flesh, because of her third eye. And because the coloration is different, the coloration of her third eye is low key giving me Hindu pantheon. Thanks for stopping by, Holly. No problem. Enjoy the rest of your day. Because you got your Kali Mas, your Lord Shivs. They're like darker toned, right? Darker complected. So this third eye with this little bit of is it a deva? Is it a deva? Is she a deva in disguise? And she's like, ooh. And she said, let me turn it on real quick for a second. Is she Chris Hansen? Is she the turtle? You come up to her like, oh my gosh, girl, I got the hottest tea. You will never believe. Keep it hush hush. And she's like, oh, really? Tell me more. Yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom, the eye opens, Deva in disguise, the blessing from that being of light comes out, and they're like, gotcha. It's like, you never suspect the turtle. She's the turtle. Cool. Bottom of the deck is the 10 of Earth. 9 of Earth, 10 of Earth. And it feels like this is the and then we have the dragon and the egg. This is the one I was seeing because I was like, it has a spider and an egg, right? But I was seeing this like orangey red one. It's the Ace of Fire. Ace of Fire is the Ace of Souls, is the Ace of Wands. It was what? It was the Ace of Souls, the Seven of Zones, and Judgment. Aries? Was it? It was Aries. Aries, the Ace of Souls, the Seven of Zones, and Judgment. And that was that energy where it was like waiting to see what you were going to do. Now, for that one example with the Deva in disguise, where the turtle was needed, that's because somebody was up to no good. But because of the way that it continued to read, it's like there was something that you were always born to be. But you had to become that thing. So that's why it's discovered in that Five of Pentacles energy. The Five of Pentacles and the Four of Swords energy, where it can be in the forest. It's almost like, again, yes and no. I think they had to wander the desert longer because of stuff that they did in the desert. So it took them longer than it originally was going to take them to find the promised land. And obviously, it's for the purposes of fleshing out the metaphor, not for any other reason. It's giving me the Israelites wandering the desert with Abraham before they reached the promised land. And it's like if they could have just abided by whatever while they were there, they would have reached the promised land a lot faster. But sometimes we're in that Five of Pentacles energy, or we're in whatever, and we're rushing to get out of it. We're rushing for manifesting, praying for, hoping for, grasping at with that Odin energy, grasping at anything that we think will take us out of that situation that'll deliver us. When all we had to do was be a little bit more patient, to remain still, to keep doing what our intuition and discernment told us to do, to trust that the divine would deliver. And sometimes, we do something, we try to make something move when it wasn't ready to move, and in response, we have to wander longer. And true, this could have been an email fashion. And it's like, yeah, it could have been an email, but you don't check your emails. And this was important. So we had to make it a meeting. I would flip if there was a meeting that was called, right? And somebody is like, oh, this could have been an email. And then the person conducting the meeting is like, yeah, you're right. It could have been an email, but this is important and time sensitive. And in fact, you never check your email. So if you check your email, it could have been an email. But this is important and you don't check your email. So now we all have to gather here together. So I can at least say that I know you know. Start checking your emails. Maybe next time it'll be an email. I know some people send emails with the read receipts, read by blah, 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 whatever. So you can't tell me you ain't opened this email because I sent it with the read receipt on. Anyway, she's giving Deva in disguise. She's giving Deva. She's like, ooh, tell me more. Boom. And then there's Deva in the background, like, yes, tell her more. Type energy. Type energy. I don't know. Got him. Type energy. Is it a Deva in disguise? Should we ask Gemini? Hey, Google. If I said that somebody was a Deva in disguise, what do you think that would mean?
It likely means they appear ordinary or unassuming on the surface, but possess the hidden strength, courage, or capability to defeat a Goliath, a massive challenge or adversary. It plays on the biblical story of David and Goliath, suggesting the person is an unexpected underdog champion.
Love it. I mean, not necessarily. Oops, what I was going for. But yeah, I think deva is the word that I want. Devastating. Not a movie. Hello. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Deva and Devi. So I guess she's a Devi in disguise. If she was a Deva in disguise, that would be crazy. Not unheard of. Not unheard of at the least. But it would be crazy. Because you think you'd be dealing with some kind of Devi. She's a Deva. What? Yeah, girl, she's a Deva. Deva in Sanskrit means shiny, exalted, heavenly being, divine being, anything of excellence. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Feminine Devi. Oh, the word is a cognate with Latin deus and Greek Zeus. So you go from Zeus to deus to Devi, Deva, which could also be like Devi, Deva, because sometimes the V's are kind of W's, you know. Interesting. She's giving that luminous warrior energy. Gotcha. Cool. Oops. Got a new job. Got to start at the mall today. 16. I don't know why that. The Giver and the Lovers. This thing that is up in the tree, freely given. And when that thing is given and socket into the place, it changes everything. It's like someone's entire. Again, they become magical. It's a change, a spiritual, emotional, mental, spiritual change that is so profound, it changes one's physical anatomy and physiology. Oh, okay. We see the angel. But this ain't your temperance angel. This is your SKT Revelations angel. And again, this angel, this is coming off of the dreams of Gaia. We saw love and the journey, right? This angel is in between the light and the dark, just like love. Or just like the journey. In between light and dark, just like the journey. But it has taken a single step into the water. Also, we see this with the hands and then the cups pouring themselves. Because of this, it reminds me of the magician in the Fable Maker's animated tarot, where all the suits were moving, but it wasn't touching them. This angel is the dragon that is the truer form of that Orbis, the true form of Orbis. Bottom of the deck is the Six of Cups. We see the lovers reborn. Oh my gosh, literally the lovers reborn. And we just saw the lovers and the giver, right? And it was a thing that changes someone's anatomy or their physiology, literally hatched. And this is what they emerge as. This both, but in one. Take it as a resonate if it resonates. If it don't resonate, don't take it. What does it mean? Your intuition and discernment will let you know if it's for you. Cool. Love it. Last but not least, we have La Fruma, and we're looking for Anmula, Willful Resistance, and I feel like there was another one. Bifrost. And Bifrost. What do I title this? Anmula and Bifrost? And it's well, yeah, that's why we're looking for Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, the Path Unpaved. What do I call it? Wheels on Rainbow Road. That's what I'll call it. Wheels as a play on Will, on Willa. Rainbow Road, Bifrost Bridge. She's giving Mario Kart. If you know the hacks, you can skip like way farther. 30033. 30033. Loving it. Cool. It's been a hot minute since I used these. Hello. Actually, let me dig around a little bit because shout out to Kathy. She really did her big one with these. She really did. She really, really did. Shout out to Twitty. It's not this. Okay. I love that the final card last time was Dej. Day and night. Literally. Because it's been such a theme. Perth Pear Tree is the scent that gets you to that clearing. When everything else guides you away, it's that sweet scent that calls you forward. But the blossoms of that pear tree only bloom after that healing. It's like when the land is sufficiently purified, when the corruption is removed, when that healing has occurred, that's when the pear blossoms bloom. And then you have to take off the armor to smell it. Because that metally tang of blood and armor or blood soaked armor, I don't know if the pear tree will necessarily cut through it. So you got to take the armor off. Follow that scent to the clearing in the forest. But the wolves and everything else will lead you away. And hierophants may lead you astray. The wolf will lead you away, and a hierophant will lead you astray. But the pear blossoms, you got that Taurus nose. New Moon Taurus, happy New Moon Taurus. Bottom of the deck, apple bearer, fruit bearing and offerings. Literally, pears are fruit. Fruit or pear blossoms, fruit bearing. We actually saw apple bearer in the raw rooms. Apple bearer, elks, protection, and man, humankind. Also, we saw the fruit in the tree of the lovers, but it was with the giver, so it's freely given. Cool. I am looking for. I know what I'm looking for. I guess no, Anwilla and Bifrost. Look at this. Look at this. So here's Dej again. Right? Here's Dej again. Under Dej is Hang True. Hang True for me is, again, Odin hanged from the world tree, but he ain't hang true. He didn't. Hang True hangs properly. This is that fool that crosses the threshold, that reaches that, was it intuition of 22 and then integrity of 23. Reaches the intuition of 22 to walk through the realm, that twilight realm beyond the world, but remaining in integrity 23 to keep sort of moving forward and not be punted or shunted back into the other side. Rejected. Like a bad organ. Also, sorry, obviously, to anyone on a donor list that got an organ that they rejected. Before this is Troth. Gar Spear. Spear! But this is an Odin spear. A promise to Odin means nothing. Odin, like a promise to Odin, is one of those types of like Odin is going to get what Odin wants and you're going to be royally screwed. But I guess this is what you got to do. When you go to that world tree and you can't hang true, you got to make shady deals and promises. Cool. Anyway. Anyway. Anwilla. So before Anwilla is Perth. Before Anwilla is Perth, pear tree. Again, I shouldn't be surprised because the pear blossom, apple bearing, pear blossom, pear tree. Hello. The fruit has bloomed. Anwilla, roll for resistance, and then haggle, hail, and weathering. It's funny because hell is before pear tree. Returning light. But these two lines have merged into one. Because it's like the line in haggle is in between the two lines of hell. Right? So it's not a simple it's not the elimination of matter and antimatter colliding. It's the merging of the superposition of antimatter onto matter and that cohesive merging. Love that. Now we're looking for Bifrost. Bifrost. Looking for the Bifrost. We have Rippian, Ripen. We have Fruit Bearing. We have Pear Tree. Before Anwilla, we have the Pear Tree. And then we have Ripen before Bifrost Bridge. Ripen, mature. So bears fruit, pear tree. They mature, right? If you plant, it's like the trees produce more trees, and you get a whole orchard of pear trees. Because as they fruit, you plant the seeds, they ripen, mature. Fruit, plant the seeds, ripen, mature, and it's naturally. And then after that is thorn, giant portal. Then literally the portal, the giant portal. Giant giving children of the angels, but not necessarily in that twisted way. It's almost like you could say that the Nephilim giants were abominations. Oh, girl. Again, this is where we are. And then literally the divine spark. Literally the divine spark. This is literally it. Literally this. It's matured. It's a mature divine spark. So you could say that the Nephilim giants were abominations because they resulted of the unholy union between the angels and the daughters of men, which produce, it's like they were abominations because it produced humans that held divinity that they had not cultivated within themselves. So it's almost like a natural giant, the holy union between man and spirit, human and the divine, is for someone to nurture that spark within them to the point where it matures and their physiology is changed. They become a giant. It's not this chimeric, you take a human and you take some aspect of the divine and you force, like, you create some chimera between the two. It's unholy because it's basically GMO. So for all the non-GMO girlies, grow your own light. Sorry. And that's why I love that divine spark was under that, because that was my immediate impression. And it's because fruit tree, pear tree, maturing, ripening. Again, it's the pear blossoms. You start to smell the pear blossoms that take you back to Eden, to that timeless tower. And then from there, it matures. From there, you get this. Not only do you have this rainbow bridge, but it's a rainbow bridge that connects to, literally goes in the direction of this portal, this giant portal, because the spark within you has matured. 77 is the number of the king of fire, is the number of the sage of souls. So there you go. Cool. And that's it. I feel like we don't need no more. Cosmic surge with the cohesion of that superposition of divine and man. So either there will be some kind of deletion event where antimatter and matter collide, which is like the cost of some journeys on a mind, a psyche, and an ego. Or you'll have this matter antimatter collision, but one will be in more of an abundance. So it's like you'll have enough antimatter to cancel all the matter and still have resulting antimatter, or you'll have enough matter that, like, the antimatter will eat away at it, but you'll still have matter, like taking a bite out of an apple, or like spontaneously generating a bitten apple. Right, a bite out of an apple would be more matter than antimatter. Spontaneously, a half-eaten apple popping into existence, I guess, would be more antimatter than matter. I don't know. Both of those colliding, deletion, obliteration type energy. But that superposition, that cohesion, that is man ascending. That's the spark within someone growing. So now it's like you put the thing inside a thing and then it grows. It's like assembling a piano inside of a building instead of trying to shove a baby grand through a doorway. Either you're going to demolish that door or you're going to demolish that piano. But if you assemble it inside, it's going to be fine. That's when it, again, that's like the proper way. The holy union between man and divine is when man cultures the spark of the divine within him to the point that it matures. That's when you get your Bodhisattvic Elijah Enochian energy. Or that's when you get your Orbis energy. Maybe those are a flavor of Orbis energies, and now the divine is acting for stuff. But again, that's why I love the divine spark being here, because before I saw the divine spark was here, this told me everything I needed to know. Ripening, maturing, and this giant portal. Cool. Imagine. Okay, don't. Never mind. It's fine. That would be so interesting, though. That would be so interesting. Not only would it be interesting, but I feel like it would explain so much. It's fine. I'm talking to myself at this point. And then look, we have one of my favorite runes, Vane, Fluctuate, Weathercock. I love Vane because it moves as it needs to move. Like wind and air is a fluid force. To expect a weather vane to always be pointed in the same direction, or to expect consistency or staticness from a weather vane is to exist in an area of stagnation. The winds don't blow, the waters don't flow, there is no current because nothing moves. And death, decay, and disease thrive in environments like that. You want your weather vane to be spinning because you want the wind to be blowing, right? Which is different than the stillness that we saw with that Two of Wands, Four of Swords energy, right? There's a difference between, there's a difference. Interestingly enough, the final rune from the Lafruma is Theor, Fire, Ether Life. I love this Ether Life here. She's almost giving you, but it's this fire ether life in someone's veins. It's fire ether life in someone's veins. Water on earth. Our bodies are primarily water. There's a whole lot of water in our bodies. Again, we started with someone going through a physiological change because of such a significant spiritual change. It's so significantly spiritual that it becomes physiological. Rather than water flowing through your veins, it becomes fire, and fire is this ether life. Just like we saw the cosmic surge in the pear tree that ripened and matured, again, the spark from within, the fire from within has matured to the point now it is our lifeblood. And because fire is our lifeblood, again, it's like a natural evolution of humanity, a holy marriage, a holy union between man and the divine. Not that unholy. Bottom of the deck, again, fame. Again, it's supposed to change. There's this ether life fire pumping through your veins now. You're supposed to change. Call it growing pains, right? Call them growing pains. Call them growing pains because it's supposed to change. Cool. And I'm going to get the last vice versa, and then we're done. There's still so many decks I have not used, but I feel like this is everything I could have asked for and more. So, and that's why I said with the Rider-Waite Smith, like the energy was still there, but I feel like with the imagery and with the cards, it wasn't giving me what I wanted. All right, I need a fall, because if you flip, I ain't gonna be able to see you. Now you can fall and flip. You know what I mean? You can flip and then fall. As you're falling, you can flip. I am gonna flip half the deck. I'll do it 3 and then flip half the deck. Because, you know, sometimes maybe you got to keep shuffling because it ain't on the right side. Was that Wheel of Fortune again? I need a fall. There's the Tower. It's the Magician. Not the Magician in their workshop doing whatever, and then the stars start to shoot. For some people, you operating in the ways that the divine, I know this flipped because it was one card. sometimes, and it's interesting the card that it is. It's like, because again, the magician was doing its magic, and then you see the shooting star. It's almost like you doing your thing could be the answer to someone's prayer, right? And all you got to do is show up and be you. You ain't even got to do nothing that you don't already do. The card that flipped over is the Empress, and it flipped. This flipped. So now, again, we see her. What's interesting about this Empress that has gone AWOL, this dummy Empress energy, is it almost makes me think of the unattended crossroads. Because the Empress has abandoned her post. Let me read the back of the Empress. I don't know what this symbol means. I know it's Hebrew, but that's all I know. I think it's Hebrew. I mean, saying I know it is a bit of an overstatement. The Empress is the bringer of life, and all life has an end. The wheat will be cut down, and the red roses of love will drop their petals. This knowledge doesn't take away from life's joy. In fact, it adds to it if we live in gratitude for the present moment. Life and death are two sides of the same card. Behind the eagle's shield, the sparrow's nest is sheltered, and asphodels bloom, the flower that blooms in the lands of death. I don't care about that. It doesn't tell me what the symbol is. That's fine. And I'm not going to look into it. It's fine. Bottom of the deck is the 10 of orbs, 10 of pentacles. The dude and his dog. It's Chino. This is the other side. So you actually see those two. Is that Mercury? Mercury and who else? No, that's not Mercury. That's Venus. Venus and Capricorn? Is that the 10, or is that Mercury? I can't tell. I mean, the 10 of Pentacles is a card of legacy. But because with the Empress, it was that empty nest, this person has a dog. Like, we know that they have a family. Their kids are now having kids and building their own families, and he has a dog. But the dog doesn't occupy the dog doesn't occupy space in the nest the way that a human or a child would, right? Dogs don't necessarily have school districts, and not that they don't have friends, um but it's like, when you get a new place, obviously you look for something that you hope your dog will like. And like, if you're looking for a yard because it's important to you that your dog has somewhere where it can go and do stuff. But it's almost like you can find a yard wherever, but a good school district isn't necessarily whatever. It's I don't know. Maybe it's just taken as it resonates, right? It could be somebody else. It could be a fateful encounter that's about to happen between two empty nesters. Or yeah. Take it as it resonates. Here you go. This is for you. These final cards are for you. Not that you're gonna be like. Cool. Thank you for stopping by and spending time. If you did, I hope you get something out of this. As always, take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. And I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Excuse me. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and way you find. And I'm excited to see which one of these decks in my collection I'm gonna dive into next. I kind of really want to get into the Ravenous and Dracon. And then pull Dragons for Dragons. But I guess I would have to pull or I could pull the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. Let's just do one of those for funsies. Oh, I didn't. It's fine, girl. I know you're right here. I know you are literally right here. I'm reaching into this box, and these cards acting like they ain't exactly where I know they are. Hello, as I'm hoping and praying my shorts or my pants don't fall. Because when I came out of the bathroom, I didn't re-buckle my belt because I'm just sitting here. Let's get one of these for no particular reason. All right, final card from the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. Final card from the Edgar Allan Poe. The final and only. Should I timestamp this? I am going to timestamp this. I'll timestamp this Nevermore. Because it's the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. Get it? Quoth the Raven. Nevermore. Is it one word? I don't know. I'm spelling it as one. And this is 3/27/20. So, from the Edgar Allan Poe. So, clean flip or clean fall. Please. It was a flip. We got 4 cards. We have the 6 of Quills. The 9 of Paws, the Page of Quills, and the 3 of Candles. So the 6 of Quills on a swan, we called it the River of Silence, for there seemed to be a hushing influence in its flow. We've seen the 6 of Swords a few times. We called it the River of Silence, as there seemed to be a hushing influence in its flow. I love this hushing influence. And I love that it's the River of Silence, because as I was talking about, like, you want your weather vane to be spinning because you want for the wind to be blowing, because you want for air to be moving. Because if the vein ain't spinning, stuff is stagnant, and death, decay, and disease thrive under the conditions of stagnancy. And then I immediately went to the stillness in the water of the 2 of Swords, or the stillness in the water of the 4 of Swords and the 2 of Wands. And it was like, no matter how heavy of a rock you throw into the water and how close to this area it lands, as soon as the ripples hit this area, it's immediately still. And I thought of that because I was like, well, isn't it like like you don't want you want the weather vane to be blowing, but yet at the same time, like, the water is still. And that's why I love to see this, the hushing influence in the flow of this river. Because it is flowing and it is moving, even in its stillness. The waters are. It also almost reminds me of that energy of like the winds that were gathering above the surface of the water. So it was almost like this tornado type energy over the water, but it wasn't disrupting the water beneath it. The Nine of Paws, which is the Nine of Pentacles, which is the plainclothes Empress energy, the Devi in disguise, Deva in disguise. Man's real life is happy, chiefly because he is ever expecting that it will soon. Man's real life is happy, chiefly because he is ever expecting that it soon will be so. I love the cat there that you don't see, but you see the face. The Page of Quills. It will be found, in fact, that the ingenious are always fanciful, and that the truly imaginative never otherwise than analytic. I'm gonna have to reread that because I had to have read that wrong. It will be found, in fact, that the ingenious are always fanciful, and the truly imaginative never otherwise than analytic. Oh, never otherwise than analytic. I love that. Because what I love about this is because I feel like when it comes to like dreaminess and fantasy, a lot of times we think that you have to like distance yourself from reality. Like you have to suspend your disbelief and you have to be willing to accept things that you know would never happen when you're engaging in creativity or especially when you're consuming, you know, something. But and maybe it's because it's the ingenious. The truly imaginative, never otherwise than analytic. The truly imaginative can also account for reality. They don't have to suspend their disbelief. That's why they're ingenious. It's almost like that's because it's like on the Pisces Virgo axis. Sometimes we might think in order to fully engage Pisces, that dreaminess, we have to detach from reality in the day to day and the tactile, tangible Virgo. But the ingenious and truly imaginative can occupy both Pisces and Virgo. You can be insanely creative and imaginative and not rely on things that would never happen. You can be realistic and pioneering at the same time. In fact, the ingenious often are. You can be both ends of that polarity. They don't have to cancel each other out. Something can be both matter and antimatter, both spiritual and physical. Literally, a change so spiritually profound that it provokes a physiological change. And in that physiologically is like in that new state, someone's body can be both access, integrate readily both physical and spiritual energies. Again, that Deva in disguise type energy that we had almost here. Because they can be both. And the truly ingenious often are. Cool. Love it. Last but not least, the Three of Candles. I can conceive nothing more sublimating than the strange peril and novelty of an adventure such as this. May God grant that we succeed. An adventure such as this with the Three of Candles, which is the Three of Wands, the Three of Wands in the vice versa tarot that had both the fire and the water that called to the magician card in the tarot apocalypses, heavenly fire, water on earth. And here, again, what we saw in the Dreams of Gaia tarot with love, the journey, and that third card, body and mind. Love, journey, and body and mind, body/mind. And here I can conceive nothing more sublimating excuse me, the strange peril and novelty of an adventure such as this. May God grant that we succeed. The journey, the adventure such as this. May God grant that we succeed. That almost playing more into the judgment is waiting for you to do the thing that has always been within you, but maybe you don't discover that thing, or you don't allow yourself the experience of being that thing until a certain point in time. And so you find yourself in the energy of that Five of Pentacles. You find yourself, rather than attempting to force the hand of God or to speed something along while you're wandering the desert, you do it in such a way that you get everything you need. And it doesn't have to be any longer than it needs to be. And I don't know, you are forever changed because of it. You don't allow the pressure of what everyone else is doing and what's happening in the environment to pull you off your path, to make you hasty, or to have you falling short. Like Odu with the eye patch that, again, learned enough to be dangerous, but not enough to actually solve his problems or, to have some kind of sense. Bateman, excellent con man, though. You know, conning so strong that a promise to him is worth anything. Let me stop. As always, take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. And just because something comes up or out in the way that it came up or out today for the purpose of illustrating the point or providing the framework for the narrative to more properly communicate the narrative doesn't necessarily mean that that is reflective of whatever outside of this, right? Things used for illustrative purposes only, type energy. In reality, it could be something else, right? And that, take it as it resonates, it could be something else. So anyway, again, this was actually fun, and I'll catch y'all next time. I did kind of have a 397 today. And it's interesting that it was 397 because I was like, oh, that's one more than 396. But maybe the 397, because that's a 19 sun card, illuminating energy, catch that. If it were a 396, it'd be an 18 moon energy, catch that. But it's like that's that Ace of Swords beyond the title card in both decks. That's that one piece that, wasn't picked up. When you hang true, you actually end up at 19 rather than 18. How do you hang true and not end up at elimination? How you hanging true and you still as clueless and lost as you were before you did whatever? Like, there should be some kind of clarity. Anyway,